At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 presents New York Mets baseball. Tonight, the Mets play the Washington Nationals. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Hyundai. There's no better time than now to see your Hyundai dealer. Visit buyhyundai.com. By Spectrum, join America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice provider. By Toyota, tested, trusted, Toyota, let's go places. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, more science, less fear. And by your tri-state Land Rover retailers. First full day of autumn in the greatest city in the world. It's been a long baseball season, but you know, things move pretty fast around these parts. You never know when it's day or night. The city never sleeps, you know. And the baseball season is rapidly winding to a close. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Back in the booth, Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets play the middle game of their series against the Nationals. The last time the Mets saw Noah Syndergaard on a major league mound was April the 30th against the Nationals in Washington. It did not end well. A torn lat muscle took Syndergaard out of action for nearly 5 months, but tonight, at least for one inning, the Met fans will get to see Syndergaard back on the mound.
Well, I think it's important to get Noah back on the mound. Terry Collins and the Met organization has made that point. They want him to get a feel, to get in that major league competition again. Even though it's one inning, he needs to get out there and throw and see how it feels. I know he's very eager to pitch. He's chomping at the bit, and so am I. I'm looking forward to seeing him twirl.
In a season that has been really derailed by injuries to a large extent, I think you can make the case that on April 30th, when Syndergaard came down, it really was the turning point of the Mets season.
Well, I think if you want to have a metaphor here, it was the first of the big trees that fell, and it was the beginning of the end of this season for the Mets, a season of disappointment, a season with such bright outlook, with such a starting 5 rotation to look forward to, and just scuttled by all these injuries.
Well, as Syndergaard pitches the first inning, he's going to be piggybacked by Matt Harvey, who has issues in his own right, trying to get his season back on track. He'll be pitching from the second inning on, trying to find his way through the final couple of starts of the season.
Well, he's been struggling, and there's no doubt about it. But, you know, he's come off of major surgery. It's an issue for him. So it's just the fact that he's out there throwing. I know he's been getting hit hard. He's depressed and really down. I've never seen him so down, and he said it's not fun. It's no fun to be in a slump, no fun to go out there and get beat around all the time. So he needs to just push through this season and push for the next year.
Meanwhile, the Nationals trying to get ready for the postseason, and Steven Strasburg, who's only made one postseason start in his career, is pitching some of his best baseball ever.
Well, coming off the DL, he has been fantastic, and here at Citi Field particularly, he's won his last 5 starts here, and 7-1 with a 2.10 earned run average career here at this ballpark.
So it's the Mets and the Nationals, a chance to get a glimpse of Noah Syndergaard. Mets and Nats, all the action coming your way on Pix 11. get to Citi Field this Sunday. Hey, that's tomorrow. Fan Appreciation Weekend and the final McDonald's Family Sunday of 2017. The Mets played the Nationals. All fans in attendance will receive a 2018 magnetic schedule courtesy of Hyundai. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, presented by Northwell Health. Themes of the game brought to you by Hyundai. There's no better time than now to see your Hyundai dealer. A seasonal themes of the game.
It certainly is. Apropos for this first day of autumn. The Mets, goodbye to summer. You see the run differential. Daniel Murphy, look at his second half since the All-Star break. 268. He's in autumn. Winter. First start since April 30th. I don't understand that one, but maybe you do back home.
Calendar says autumn. Weather feels like summer. Mets and Nationals playing tonight on a gorgeous night in New York. Come on back. First pitch is coming right up. Truly a welcome sight after nearly 5 months away. The hardest throwing starting pitcher in baseball is back on the hill at Citi Field.
Well, you see his numbers right there over those 5 starts in April. What's impressive out of that? We never, when his 14 games a year ago, his walk ratio to strikeouts was off the charts. And of those 2 walks in 27 in the 3rd innings, 1's intentional. So Noah was repeating what he did in 14, but that doggone lat.
Nationals lineup brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Dusty Baker played his irregulars last night. He's got most of his regulars in tonight. Everybody except Ryan Zimmerman, who was going to sit the weekend with general soreness as the Nats gear up for a postseason slot. Well, I would imagine the nerves have to be roiling a little bit for Syndergaard, and we've seen him amped up at starts of games. He's got to kind of hold himself back a tad, I would think, as he faces Trey Turner. His first pitch is outside, and we're underway.
Interesting choice of first pitch. You'd think he'd have a little bit of nerves. He came right at him with a cutter or that hard slider.
And Turner smacks one to right. Aoki moves over in front of it. 98-mile-an-hour fastball from Syndergaard. A liner to right for the first out. Syndergaard is going to pitch 1 inning no matter how many pitches it requires, even if he only throws 6 or 7, it's just going to be the 1 inning.
And the Mets defense brought to you by Nissan. Rosario at shortstop. It's the same group last night in the same spots. Repeat performance out there in the outfield. Another repeat performance. Nimmo, Lagares, Aoki. Only change is Plawecki, and there's Mr. Harvey getting loose, getting ready for the 2nd inning.
It'll be his first career relief outing. Syndergaard throws a fastball at 99 for a strike to Jason Worth, who missed nearly 3 months with a broken toe and has really struggled since coming back. He's just 4 for his last 49. And he lines one into center field for a base hit. So a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Worth turns it around for the first hit against Syndergaard.
Well, first ball, fastball hitting right down the Broadway. Right on it. Covered it nicely.
So a first pitch slider by Syndergaard, and then 3 subsequent fastballs, all 98 or 99. But the Nats have hit 2 balls hard. 1 out and 1 on. And now Daniel Murphy coming up. Murph pinch hit last night. He has strafed his old team, but he's struggled a little bit since the All-Star break. And he hits it sharply. Should be a double play. Reyes to Rosario and on to first. And it is a successful first inning and only inning for Syndergaard. He requires just 5 pitches to get himself back to the mound in successful fashion. Comeback as you can have. 5 pitches, 3 outs, and more time spent debriefing at the end of the inning than it took for Syndergaard to throw those 5 pitches.
I think Noah wanted to go another because it was just 5 pitches, so lightning fast. But you got to consider Harvey out there. He's been warming up to come in the 2nd inning. He's been down there tossing.
Mets lineup brought to you by your tri-state area Land Rover retailers. Travis d'Arnaud, after the 2 home runs last night, sits in favor of Kevin Plawecki. Nori Aoki also had a big night last night. 3 hits, including the game-winning RBI, as the Mets came from 5 runs down to beat the Nats. Tonight they have to go up against Steven Strasburg, who has been red hot.
Well, there's his numbers. 14-game winner going for 50.
Strasburg had a 35-inning scoreless streak snapped in his last start against the Dodgers. Gave up just 1 run in 6 innings in that start. Strasburg, over the last 8 starts since the All-Star break, 5-1, 0.72. That is steaming hot.
Well,
fastball call strike to Nori Aoki.
Last 2 seasons up to present, 29-8 with a 7.84 winning percentage, which ties in with Clayton Kershaw. Identical records over the same span.
Aoki slaps one toward the hole. That's through for a base hit. So Nori Aoki, who had 3 hits last night, continues his hot hitting, using the whole field, that time slapping it the other way.
He's the ideal table setter, is he not? He's steal a base.
He certainly has opened some eyes with his play here in September.
I just don't understand why you wouldn't play him over the opposite field on the infield, particularly shortstop. And you got all these charts and da-dun-da-dun-da-dun. Yada, yada, yada.
Yachty like Molina or Yada like Seinfeld? Here's Reyes, 1 for 4 last night. Aoki's been stealing some bases since coming to the Mets. He's got 9 on the year, 4 since arriving here in early September. Reyes, meanwhile, has by far the most at bats against Strasburg of anybody in the Mets lineup tonight, 29 of them. And he's held his own, 7 for 29. It's a 241 clip. As Drupal Cabrera waiting on deck. And the changeup misses 1-1. With Strasburg pitching so well and Gio Gonzalez having a great year additionally with Max Scherzer. Yep. It gives the Nats an embarrassment of riches at the top of their rotation heading toward the postseason.
And you throw in Tanner Roark, that's a pretty good 1, 2, 3, 4 punch. I like the Nationals' chances this year. They're a team that's going to be hungry. They've been to the playoffs. They've got an excellent manager in Dusty Baker. They just haven't got the brass ring yet.
Well, they've got some history to overcome. They've made the postseason 3 of the last 5 years, but they've yet to win a postseason series. And Reyes takes a fastball outside 3-1. And of course, what has loomed over the Nats for most of their postseason runs the last few years has been the absence of Strasburg. He's made just the 1 start. That was in 2014, game 1 against the Giants, in which he pitched well but lost. Giants won the series in 4 games, so Strasburg didn't get a chance to pitch again. Sat out in 2012, sat out last year. That's pulled down the right field line. That's a fair ball going off the sidewall. Aoki to second, takes the turn. He'll go to third, and Reyes to second as Stevenson gets it in, and the Mets have second and third and nobody out. 24th double of the year for Reyes.
Pull it. Let's see Lynn. Oh, he couldn't get up. Didn't get much elevation there. Pull it.
So 2 hits to start the bottom of the first inning. A single for Aoki, a double for Reyes, and now as Drupal Cabrera, who was on base 4 times in a row last night. 2 hits, 2 walks, drove in a run. Cabrera hitting .403 in the month of September. That's the 3rd best in the major league. Infield back for the Nats.
Way back on the right side as Daniel Murphy is a good 15 feet into the outfield. Cabrera doesn't run well.
As Drupal has 3 career hits against Strasburg in 14 at bats. 2 of those 3 are home runs. It's never fared well against Strasburg, particularly at Citi Field. And the changeup in for a strike. First one he's been able to get across the plate.
Good sinking action, a great spot, and the veteran hitter right there. That's not a pitch to hit when you got a 1-0 count. So you spit on it and go, okay, 1-1. Let's try it again.
Fastball misses 2-1. Strasburg missed nearly a month, late July to late August. An impingement in the nerve in his pitching elbow, but since coming back he has been at the top of his game. Nets though trying to get off to a fast start against him tonight. And Cabrera pops one up, should be playable for Wieters, and that's the first out. So Cabrera can't get a run home.
one away, and now Brandon Nimmo hitting cleanup again tonight after a rough night at the plate last night. Went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
Well, the National League East champion Nationals defense brought to you by Fios. Rendon back in the lineup. Trey Turner back in the lineup. He brings 42 stolen bases to the table. Daniel Murphy, of course, tremendous hitter. The only guy that's Andrew Stevenson is the one guy that is a kind of a part-time player. Hasn't had a lot of at bats. He's in right.
Well, that's of course Bryce Harper's spot, and Harper participated in a simulated game here early this afternoon. And the Nats are hoping that Harper could be back in the lineup as soon as Monday. But they definitely wanted to get some game action before the postseason begins, as he comes back from the deep bruised knee. And the curveball misses from Strasburg, 1-1 to Nimmo.
Yeah, he's a big piece, and they're not going to rush him back. He was having an MVP caliber season. I mean, looking for back-to-back. Extraordinary.
They've worked him back slowly but surely. And
he's a player.
But they need him. There's no question. Fastball finds the corner, and it's 1-2 to Nimmo.
I think that he brings also, Bryce Harper, a toughness, a mental toughness to this team. He always plays with, like, it looks like a scowl on his face. He always plays hard, all out. And it's nice to see him smiling. It's nice when you're not playing and you can relax.
You know how he's chomping at the bit to get back, though.
Oh, yes.
1-2 coming, and it's too high. Tonight's high-speed pitch comes from Optimum, now with internet speeds 4 times faster. We get to it early tonight because Syndergaard pitching just the 1 inning, so we spot up his 99.
So all that time off, and he's throwing 99, pain-free.
Well, much will depend on how he feels tomorrow, but if he feels well tomorrow, there's every chance he'll pitch again before the end of the year, probably next weekend in Philadelphia at some point.
Nimmo did not have a good night last night. If I recall, he struck out 3 times, Gary.
Yep.
An 0 for 4. And he's been taking that pitch around the letters, and he thinks it's a ball, but he's done it a lot, and it's been called a strike a lot. So you have to make the adjustment.
And he goes down swinging on that fastball in on him. And Strasburg, after giving up back-to-back hits, has gotten a pop-up and a strikeout. Now a chance to get through the inning.
Well, he's throwing bullets, Gary, and I can tell from that center field camera. This was up and in gas. And the guy throws this hard, you got to be a little more set and ready to go. Now, Nimmo is, but he got it thrown right by him there. I mean, he is throwing hard.
So 2 out, and it's left to Kevin Plawecki. Plawecki, since coming back from the minor leagues, 19 games, hitting .304. Second and third and 2 out. And he skies one to center field. Michael Taylor right under it, waiting for it. And that retires the side. So Strasburg at second and third, and nobody out behind him, and the Mets failed to score. Matt Harvey coming on for the second.
That is spectacular. Absolutely. Makes me wish I was in the city right now.
You know, you West Coast folks always argue for West Coast sunsets, but I don't think you can beat that.
Oh, you should see the ocean on the Pacific Ocean, Gary.
It's nice, but you don't have New York in front of it.
But you would lose. I know you. If you were out there, you'd lose that edge. I know it.
Edge. You want edge? Well, Matt Harvey made 50 minor league starts, 99 major league starts. This is the first time in his professional career he has ever come into a game in relief.
Well, he's coming off the start and down in Miami where he got pretty much racked up. A lot of cheap hits, but he got hit hard, and he's at a down point in his career. He needs a good start here.
Anthony Rendon will start the second against the relief pitcher, Matt Harvey, after Noah Syndergaard threw 5 pitches, gave up 3 hard hit balls, a line out, a single, and a hard hit double play ball to end his first outing since April. And now Harvey picking up where Syndergaard left off. Rendon jump-started his season the same day that Syndergaard's hit a brick wall. That April 30th game when Rendon hit 3 home runs and drove in 10 runs. He had been struggling to that point,
yes,
and he has had a magnificent season ever since.
He's 4 RBIs away from 100. That is a goal that you cherish. And 24 home runs, over 40 doubles. He's walked 78 times. That's and hitting .303. That's a year.
With Harper missing all this time, Rendon is their top MVP candidate, and there are a lot of them in the National League. Bouncing ball for Reyes, nice easy hop, and Rendon retired one away.
It's always interesting to see when you lose a key player in a ball club, Gare, and you see the other players that are outstanding players, but now more is required from them when a big star goes down for a long period of time. It's interesting to see who steps up, and Rendon has definitely done that.
Here's Adam Lind, who is the only Nat who started last night who is starting tonight. He had a 3-run homer last night off Robert Gazelman. That gave the Nats an early lead. Nats led that game 6-1 before the Mets came back to win 7-6. Lind has had a terrific year as a part-time player, and he's done a lot of damage against the Mets. 13 home runs, 5 of them have come against Mets pitching. Harvey trying to throw his changeup and his curveball more. He's kind of neglected those pitches in his quest to rediscover his slider that's been missing.
Well, Lind, won the job in spring training from Clint Robinson, who was their big left-hand hitter off the bench and a first baseman. But he's the man now.
Michael Taylor on deck. Well, Lind getting a chance to play this series with Ryan Zimmerman sitting with what Dusty Baker calls general soreness, which I don't think is an official military title. It's ball 4 to Lind, and he's aboard with 1 out. Zimmerman's had such a fine comeback season for the Nats. They need him healthy and ready to go when October begins.
I love all this new jargon from the medical staffs running around the league. Hey, his second day off. I'm giving him another day off. He's had a long year. He's had a great year. I'm giving him 2 days off.
General soreness, my friend.
Don't you have to go there?
Captain aches and pains. Here's Michael Taylor. Taylor has had his best season in the big leagues. Remember, Adam Eaton was the center fielder for the Nats when the season began, but he tore up his knee on a play at first base against the Mets, out for the year, and Taylor has taken the ball and run with it. 16 home runs this year, hitting .271.
He's had himself a nice season, this young man. He strikes out a lot, 124 strikeouts on the year, but he's got 16 home runs, and he's kind of come into his own. He's got a quick bat. He's a threat up there.
Inside the park grand slam against the Phillies earlier this month. Plays a good center field. A lot of speed. And Harvey misses with the changeup, and it's 2-1.
An absolutely gorgeous day it was today, huh, folks? My goodness, it was hot. It's beautiful tonight.
Last throws of summer.
Good slider.
That's the one he's been looking for. And it's a pitch that has really eluded Matt since he's come back from the disabled list.
Good little late down break.
Lind at first and 1 out. 2-2 to Taylor. And he bounced that slider. And backhanded by Plawecki. 3-2.
He threw a good one and he just got on top and he said, oh, that's the one I've been missing. And then you think yourself into getting on top too much and spiking it.
Those are the numbers for Matt since coming back from a couple of months on the disabled list. Andrew Stevenson, left-hand hitter, waiting on deck.
I don't think they'll run Lind here. They don't.
And Taylor pulls into third. Could be 2. The turn by Reyes. 5-4-3 double play. Side retired. 2 pitchers, 2 innings, 2 double plays. And that gets Harvey through the top of the second. No score at Citi Field. Looks like it's a theme.
Oh, wow.
Like a big golden ball.
That's like the scene from Endless Summer. Remember that old surf movie?
Surfing movie.
Yes.
Steven Strasburg got into a mess in the first inning. Second and third and nobody out. Was able to find his way out of it with no damage. Dominic Smith will lead off in the home second. Dom was 1 for 4 last night, hitting .213 through his first 141 big league at bats. By the way, as Smith lines one to the right center for a leadoff hit, chased in the gap by Stevenson, and Smith will hold on at first base with a leadoff single. So the Mets get a leadoff hit for the second straight inning.
Well, how about that? First ball hitting, and you can't say first ball fastball hitting because you got a breaking ball. And laced it.
So Smith is aboard, and now Ahmed Rosario coming up. I was going to say that, you know, Smith has 141 at bats, Rosario 136, which means they have both forfeited their candidacy for next year's Rookie of the Year. More than 130 at bats negates your rookie status for the next year.
I'm sure they'll be quite happy to get the experience and the at bats here in this season.
Just saying. They'll have to chase other awards, you know, Gold Glove, Silver Sluggers, MVPs. Rookie of the Year will not be available.
Happened to me. I got called up a different criteria back when I got called up. I got called up, I think, on the 23rd. So I wasn't considered a September call up. And I don't think it had anything to do with at bats because I only started the first 3 games with Joe Torre's sprained thumb. And then I basically pinched hit and did a little bit of spot playing.
starting, I should say.
Mario takes the curveball down. It's 2-1. Ahmed returned to the lineup last night after missing the whole series in Miami with gastroenteritis. Even had a trip to the hospital involved. It was that bad. Came back last night, went 1 for 4. And he takes the fastball on the corner, 2-2. Similar to what happened to Jacob deGrom, he was also badly stricken with a stomach bug, and that's why Jake's start was pushed back from Friday till tomorrow. Looking a lot better now than he did a few days ago. 2-2, and he struck him out. Good slider that time by Strasburg. Second strikeout of the night. Well, this afternoon, a thrilling win for the Brewers. They were down in the 9th, tied it on an Orlando Arcia home run. They were down in the 10th and won it on a 2-run homer by Travis Shaw. And after 3 straight heartbreaking losses, it's a huge win for Milwaukee. The National League Central looks like it's going to belong to the Cubs, but that wild card race, that's something else. The Rockies play a little bit later in San Diego. The Cardinals are playing in Pittsburgh. They were up 2-0 in the first inning, and the Pirates have scored 6 runs in the bottom of the first against Lance Lynn. So that's a big turn of events. Around the Majors brought to you by Lexus. Experience amazing.
And at this point of the season too, it's important to look at the losses, and you notice that the Brewers are 2 games behind the loss column, a game and a half in the standings, but 2 in the loss column. The Cardinals are 1 and a game and a half behind.
Lagares takes a call strike. Juan had 2 hits last night, a bunt single and a double. Two for 14 in his career against Strasburg, who is 7-1 in this ballpark. 7-1, 2.10 in 9 career starts at Citi Field. Foul back by Lagares, 1-2.
Well, I didn't think the Brewers would hang around, to be honest with you, and they certainly have.
Well, they are not a star-studded team by any means, but they've had tremendous pitching performances by some less than stellar names, guys like Chase Anderson, terrific closer in Corey Knebel, although he gave one up last night to the Cubs. Travis Shaw's had a big year for them. Strasburg runs that changeup under the hands of Lagares and has back-to-back strikeouts, and there are 2 out in the inning.
Getting good movement on it. It runs in, and Juan is going to have a heck of a time hitting the ball 6 inches inside. Any hitter would. So the good movement on the change.
So 2 out. Now Matt Harvey will take the turn at bat. Remember when Matt first came up? He was a really good hitter. It's been a while.
Well, I think number 1 is that the league catches on and they don't throw cookies in there anymore. And number 2, I think at this point with Matt, your focus is more on getting out of this doldrum and pitching like you can. I think when you have everything going for you and you're pitching great, then hitting is kind of a challenge. But right now the challenge for Matt is getting it back to the old Matt Harvey.
Harvey and Strasburg have hooked up before, and you know, Strasburg got to the big leagues first, and when Harvey came up in 2012 and came up with such a flash, everybody looked forward to them meeting for the first time, and Matt won the first 2 confrontations with Strasburg. You remember the fans here at Citi Field chanting Harvey's better. It was a memorable night. Runner goes and Harvey strikes out. Tom Smith putting himself in motion there, but 3 straight strikeouts for Strasburg after a leadoff hit, and no score after 2.
The curtain goes up on a new attraction in New York. Shea Stadium, new home of Casey Stengel's New York Mets. There's a massive traffic jam as 50,000 fans flock to the season's opener. But all of the irritations and frustrations are forgotten in the plush splendor of the new park. No need to walk. 21 escalators whisk you to all levels.
I love the headline in the newsreel. Plush stadium opens. Shea Stadium. Plush.
Yes.
1964. Well, that's in deference to our buddy Federico Varela, who joined us on the broadcast last night, who was at that game, the first game in 1964 when Shea opened, and was such a delight to have on the broadcast. And the Mets put together a 5-run inning while Federico was with us.
That's correct.
Andrew Stevenson leading off the third against Harvey, who quickly falls behind him 3-0. Stevenson, the rookie out of LSU, second-round draft pick 2 years ago, making his 12th start.
53 at bats, 11 of them as a pinch hitter.
The Nats have a couple of decisions to make as far as their postseason roster. They've got a bunch of young outfielders who have a lot of speed. Stevenson is one of them. We saw the other two last night, Victor Robles and Rafael Batista, as Stevenson walks to lead off the third. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they structure their roster, because they have a chance to have a lot of extra athleticism on the bench if they so desire.
How many more years does Jason Worth have on his contract?
This is it. This is the last one. 7-year deal. This is the 7th year.
I wonder. I have a feeling he's not going to be back.
Well, he's 38 years old.
Yep.
I don't know how much longer he has to play, but I mean, we saw Robles last night, and you could see what the Nats love about him. He's only 20 years old. He's got all the tools. Here's Matt Wieters, and he flies one foul down the left side out of play. It's been a disappointing year for Wieters, who signed late with the Nats after being on the free agent market all winter. 4-time All-Star, former Oriole, hitting just .225 with 9 home runs. They've liked Wieters' defense, but his offense has certainly been less than they had hoped. Stevenson just got the hand back in ahead of the tag on the pickoff try by Harvey. Pirates have scored 8 runs in the first inning against St. Louis, and the Mets want a review on that pickoff play at first base.
Oh boy.
So in a huge game for St. Louis tonight, that took a 2-0 lead in the top of the first. Lance Lynn got knocked out in the bottom of the first, and it's now 8-2. Here's that play at first base.
I don't think there's enough there.
Hard to tell by that angle. Let's see this angle. I think so.
That's tough.
Play under review brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. Certainly didn't look like the kind of play that you would waste your challenge on this early in the game. Young first base umpire Chris Siegel, who made the call, is on the left. The crew chief Mike Winters on the right. Jerry Lane and Hunter Wendelstedt have their crews in Chelsea in the replay center. Closer look. I think they feel as though his hand was over the base and not on the base when the tag was made. Let's see. Did that hand come down on the base before the tag? Well,
that's kind of tough.
That's about as close as you can get.
And Harvey's out there storming around. He needs to throw. This is what I don't like about this, is that, you know, if I'm a pitcher, I'm particularly late in the game, and you got a situation. If I'm a manager, Garrett, I got something that I got a challenge remaining. Pitcher's in a tight jam in a close game, and you're sitting out there waiting 2 minutes. He can't throw. Well, he can if he wants to.
I don't know why he is choosing not to throw a few warm-up pitches. And they say that he is safe. So
I agree.
The call is upheld, and the Mets lose their challenge. I mean, it looked like a very borderline call to go ahead with. But, you know, the manager and the bench coach are at the mercy of the guys in the replay booth underneath the stands.
Can you imagine the second guessing going on?
Well,
I mean, this early, I just don't think.
So Wieters at bat resumes with an 0-1 count. Stevenson at first and nobody out. And that comes inside 1-1. Pitcher Strasburg is on deck. Wieters fouls off a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Sandy Alderson said something really interesting about Harvey earlier this week. You know, it's been very noticeable after the last couple of starts how morose and at a loss Harvey has been. And what Sandy said was that Matt is getting too hung up on the results, so that he's not appreciating the incremental progress that he's making.
Yeah, that's easy to say from Sandy's position, you know, point of view. Harvey's living it, and being out there getting hit hard, you know, it's easy for anybody to sit out of body and just being observing. I know what Sandy's trying to do, but I can totally understand Matt's I don't want to say depression, just being down in the dumps.
I guess the question then becomes, as Wieters gets under one to right center and Aoki moves over, one out. The question then becomes, is the fact that Matt is so down in the dumps about his performance and the results, is it getting in the way of him continuing to get better? And when we talk about getting better, we're talking about his fastball has had a little more life. He's trying to get his slider to work a little better. You know, things, the small, the incremental steps that we're talking about. So is the emotional state keeping him from improving? And that, to me, is the bigger issue.
I'm looking right here. You've got 4 innings pitched, 12 hits, 7 runs all earned. That's tough to, you know what I'm saying?
Nobody says he should be happy with that, but my question is does the fact that he's not getting the results keeping him from continuing to try to improve? And I think that's probably not true. I think he probably is continuing to push forward even though he's not happy about the results.
And it's this surgery that he had, the thoracic surgery. Not only does Matt not know, it's unknown territory to Matt, it's unknown to medical staffs as far as recovery is concerned. And I can tell you, for a player not to be able to perform at a high level when you have performed at a high level and all of a sudden it's not there, boy oh boy, that is tough, Gary. It is a hard situation emotionally to handle, to keep your spirits up, keep a positive outlook.
3-1 to Strasburg.
I mean, everybody can tell you, hey, you know, you throw 3 miles an hour faster. Okay, yeah, but I gave up 7 runs and 12 hits, so you know, who cares?
Well, I guess the devil's advocate in me would say these games, they don't have any import as far as wins and losses right now, as far as the Mets are concerned. All that matters is that Matt is building his strength back to the point where he can be a productive member of the staff next year.
I totally agree, Gary, but you know, it's just hard. It's a bitter pill for Matt to swallow.
Well, certainly somebody who's been at the heights that he's been at. I mean, this is a guy who 4 years ago started the All-Star game on this mound, who 2 years ago went out to pitch the 9th inning of the 5th game of the World Series. Strasburg bunting on 3-2, straight back to Harvey, has a play at second, gets the out there. Rosario double clutched on the throw, otherwise they would have doubled up Strasburg. So an aggressive play by Harvey to get the second out as they force Stevenson, and if Rosario gets that glove out of his ball out of his glove cleanly, they would have turned 2.
Yep, little double clutch there and the transfer. That would have been 2. Now everybody's afraid not to slide into the runner anymore, into the fielder.
So 2 out Strasburg at first, and here's Trey Turner, who lined out to right field against Syndergaard in the first inning. If you joined late, well, it was not the right thing to do tonight. Noah Syndergaard started the game, pitched 1 inning. It took him just 5 pitches to get through the top of the first. 3 hard hit balls, but 3 outs nonetheless, and then Harvey took over from there. Jason Worth would be next. Strasburg at first, Smith playing behind him, and Turner grounds one down to Cabrera. They'll go the short way for the force, and that ends the inning. So 2 hitless innings for Matt Harvey to start his first ever relief outing. And we go to the bottom of the 3rd with no score. Time that Gary Carter spent as a Met, but when you think about it, his legacy is part of the Washington Nationals franchise. The first 11 years of Gary's career was as a Montreal Expos. Of course, the Expos became the Nationals. 7 times an All-Star in Montreal, 3 times a Gold Glover before he arrived in New York in '85.
Gary was always like Reggie. He was a big, had good All-Star games in front of the big audience, and I always think of Gary in terms of the final piece in that 80s cog that we needed to get us over the top. He was the final piece.
Ryan Zimmerman recently became the all-time franchise leader in home runs, and there you see the rest of the top 5 in Expos/Nationals history. And Carter right there, 220 of his 324 big league home runs came as a Montreal Expo. Gary, in fact, he went back to Montreal to play the last year of his career, 1992, at age 38. He played in 95 games that year to close out his career after stops in San Francisco and LA after his tenure in New York. No score as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Nori Aoki leads off against Steven Strasburg. Mets have had leadoff hits in each of the first 2 innings against Strasburg, but nothing to show for it.
3 hits last night for Aoki. He has been swinging a hot bat.
Well, 19 games. This is his 19th game as a Met. He's hitting .324. He's really making an impression. And, you know, he needs to. And he hits one up the middle, and he's 2 for 2. And the Mets, for the 3rd straight inning, get a leadoff hit against Strasburg. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience with the MLB.com and Bat app. Get New York Met home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. Jose Reyes drilled a double down the right field line his first time up. So Aoki now 5 for 6 in this series. 3 hits last night, 2 more tonight.
See how he pitches Reyes here. Reyes went after a first pitch fastball his first time up. Reyes is one of those. Okay, there's the Chevy. That Chevy truck, awesome with the cab. Reyes, one of those
extended cab, Keith.
Oh, excuse me. Reyes is a very unpredictable hitter.
You can fit your Great Dane in the back seat,
or a flat coat retriever.
You were saying about Reyes?
Very unpredictable. Because why is he unpredictable? Because he swings the bat, and he can swing and pop up pitches right down the middle, and then hit a pitch, you know, 1 inch off the ground, a pitcher's pitch, and hit a rocket somewhere. You just don't know what he's doing. He's always swinging, and you can never take anything for granted with him up there and just throw a cookie in there.
Well, he certainly is finishing strong after just a futile start to his season. The first 2 months, Reyes just couldn't buy a hit, but he found his groove around mid-season, and he has been really hot since the latter part of June. One and two to Jose. When I hear them play this in the ballpark, it reminds me of 2006 during the postseason.
Were they doing that before that soccer
yeah.
chant? And that's when they were really chanting instead of the videotape in the recording.
I mean, I remember those games against the Dodgers and the Cardinals in the 2006 postseason when all of Shea Stadium was chanting. It's off the fists, a pop up for Rendon. And he puts it away, 1 out.
Well, that was the team, I think the best team that the Mets fielded since the '86 bunch. They didn't quite have the bullpen, but they had an offense, a good starting pitching, and Yadier Molina put an end to it.
Or Adam Wainwright did.
Yeah, that was a heck of a ball club. When you had Reyes and Wright and Beltran and Delgado, my goodness. And Delgado had the good year that year.
Cabrera takes a curveball for a strike. Who's Hot brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
That'll do it. It's fun hitting 397. 20 games.
Especially when you're trying to earn a job for next year. I mean, when you think about Cabrera and the year he's had and the ebb and flow of it, if I'm the Mets front office, and I think this is a reasonable thing, their thoughts about picking up that option have probably gone back and forth a dozen times. We should pick up the option. We shouldn't pick up the option. We should pick up the option. We shouldn't pick up the option. And I don't know if that decision's been made yet. I mean, early in the season when he was playing shortstop and really struggling, you'd have to say no way. Then when he got a little hotter and started hitting, you'd say okay. Then when he demanded a trade when the Mets wanted to move him to second base, well, that would make you think they wouldn't. Then he started playing well at second and then well at third and hitting late in the season. So it's kind of it's been a conundrum for this franchise trying to figure out whether Cabrera fits next year and at the price tag that he will bring.
And the joker in the deck is the recovery of Michael Conforto. Need his bat.
But do you think that relates to Cabrera's status?
He's a hitter.
Well, I guess you'd have to decide whether you think he's enough of a hitter at this point to be an everyday player, or whether you view him more as a backup and go out and get yourself a hitter at third base.
And would he be happy? I don't think he's ready to be he's a switch hitter. It's hard to say, okay, we're going to platoon him. I don't think he's ready to sit the pine and get 300 at bats.
Half swing. Did he go? He did not. Full count. Well, I mean, if you assume, and you know, it's a bit of a stretch to assume this, but if you assume Dom Smith and Ahmed Rosario are part of your starting infield next year, you still have open spots at second and third.
Well, we'll see which way Sandy goes with this. You know, a third baseman is needed.
I mean, where does Wilmer Flores fit into the equation? There, the runner goes. The pitch is high. And Cabrera's on with a walk. First walk given up by Strasburg, and the Mets have 2 men on. I mean, where does Flores fit in? Where does T.J. Rivera fit in when he comes back from Tommy John surgery?
I have a hunch that Flores, to me, is going to be playing less third base and more first base.
So you're saying platooning at first? Or do you think maybe
Wilmer can hit right-handers too, so you know Wilmer can get 400 at bats.
So you're saying the book is still open on whether Dom Smith is going to be here to start the season?
Well, I didn't think of that.
Here's Nimmo. He drives one toward the left field corner. Worth going back. He won't get there. It lands and hops over the fence for a ground rule double. Aoki comes in to score the first run of the game. Nimmo with an opposite field double. Drives in a run to make it 1-0 New York.
Well, Nimmo first jumps on it quickly. Gets a fastball away and goes with it. Got struck out up and in with a fastball. That was up and away. Went right with it.
So Nimmo's 8th double, his 18th RBI. It's the first run of the game, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
So there's going to be once again a lot of competition in spring training.
Well, also depends what moves they make before spring training.
Correct.
I mean, do you go out and spend money on a free agent third baseman like a Moustakas?
Well, if you do that, I mean, you're going to pay a heavy price.
Well,
but
they've got a lot of money coming off the books with all the guys they traded away, the pending free agents.
How old is Moustakas?
Ground ball past the mound toward the middle by Plawecki. That sneaks through for a base hit, and it's going to bring in 2. Cabrera and Nimmo both score on the seeing eye hit by Plawecki, and it's 3-0 New York.
Broken bat here. Off the end.
And it just sneaks by.
Baltimore chop, as I like to say. Don't you think of the Baltimore chop? It's up the middle.
No, I think of a Baltimore chop as a ball hit down off home plate that takes a big bounce.
Okay, but it gets through the infield. No,
not necessarily.
Okay.
No, but I think of more of a high hopper than a ball that trickles through.
Okay, that's called a bleeder.
Bleeder, yeah. Seeing eye hit.
Well, yes.
You had another name for it that we can't say on the air.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mets have 3 runs home here in the third. Now Smith, who had a base hit to right center his first time up. So we found your information for you.
Yes, Moustakas is 29, and what kind of length of contract is he going to want? You know, Moustakas to me looks like someone that might, when he gets out of his prime into his mid 30s, you know, he might regress. So those are all the things. You haven't got a crystal ball.
Smith gets tied in a knot, but he went around on the slider by Strasburg, 1-2.
You know who did that to me once in spring training? Turned me into a corkscrew and a hard slider. Yankees. We were playing at Outlying Field. I was a Cardinal. Catfish Hunter threw me one of his sliders.
Really?
Yes.
And Strasburg goes to Heath to strike out Smith for the second out. 5 strikeouts for Strasburg.
High cheddar. When you throw hard, you can get it by the guys upstairs.
So 2 out. Plawecki at first, and now Ahmed Rosario. Well, Strasburg had a 35-inning scoreless streak. Gave up 1 run against the Dodgers his last start. So this is the most runs he's given up in a month. 3 runs here in the 3rd.
Well, he's flirted all 3 innings, and Mets finally, 3rd time the charm, lead off runners in every inning thus far.
Rosario struck out his first time up. Foul tips the fastball, and it's 0-2. Well, the poor Cleveland Indians, I don't know if you saw it last night, Keith, but they lost a game. Their 2nd loss in their last 29. But the good news is they bounced back today. And they beat the Mariners 11-4. Jan Gilms 2 home runs, so that's 28 of their last 30.
And it was a close game, right? It was like 3-2 they lost, or was I mistaken?
Last night they lost 3-1.
Right.
A walk-off home run by Nelson Cruz.
So another fine pitching performance from that crew. You got to like them going ahead. I just think the only team that I think has, well, you never know in a short series, but you got to consider Houston. I really liked what I saw of those Astros.
Well, especially with what Verlander has done. 4 starts with the Astros, and Verlander 4-0, 0.64.
He just had another twirl a gem again.
Yeah, last night 7 innings, 1 hit against the Angels.
Angels are
just about done.
Yep, they just folded their tent.
They lost again today.
Oh boy.
Slowly hit. Turner charges. Goes to second, off the bag, and he's safe. I think Turner surprised Murphy by going to second with that throw, but I guess he figured against the speed of Rosario, that was his better bet.
It's also good hustle by Plawecki. Murph got caught. Yep, you're right. Murph got. It's like you're like a first baseman when you come across and get that throw. And if you stride too quick, you commit. It's a commit. That's like a stretch.
I mean, he wasn't even on the bag to begin with.
Right. So
it's an infield hit for Rosario. So the Mets' 4th hit of the inning. 3 runs are home. 2 on and 2 out for Lagares, who struck out his first time up. But you know, that's what the speed of Rosario does. An average runner, Turner throws that ball to first base and the inning's over.
Inning should have been over.
So Strasburg forced to work a little harder here in the 3rd. Interesting in this last week and couple of days for Dusty Baker. He's got a couple of pitchers with Scherzer and Strasburg, and even throw Gio Gonzalez into that mix, who are competing for a potential Cy Young. But he's trying to get them ready for the postseason as well. So how far do you push them? Do you let them go deep into games? Do you limit their pitch count?
No, you don't, because you want them to go. It's the playoffs. You want them to go deep. You want them to go 7. So no change.
Strasburg, a low throw, but handled by Lind, and that retires the side. 8 men came to bat. Mets get 3 off Strasburg in the 3rd and lead 3-0. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyOffers.com. New York on a late September night. Mets have a 3-0 lead as we start the fourth. Congratulations to the Yankees, who earned a postseason berth today with their victory over Toronto behind Sonny Gray 5-1. Yankees are short of at least being a wild card. Boston won as well today, so the Red Sox magic number for clinching the AL East is 5. Their lead is 4. And it's looking more and more, as Jason Worth leads off the fourth, as though Minnesota may be home free for that second wild card. They started the day with a 3.5 game lead over the Angels and Rangers, and the Angels have already lost. I mean, that was so close for so long with so many teams, but everybody's played themselves out of it except for the Twins, who nobody expected to be there after losing 103 games last year.
And you thought most of the year the National League wild card was settled.
Right.
And it just completely flipped.
Well, the Brewers winning today. They and the Cardinals both a game and a half behind the Rockies now. Cardinals are trailing. Rockies not yet started. 2-2 to Worth. Meanwhile, Arizona's pretty well pulled away. Their magic number for clinching a wild card spot is 2. So they're just about home free. See what Chris Iannetta did last night? 2 home runs, 8 RBIs.
Oh, it's the night.
Arizona outscored Miami that game last night 13-11. Jason Worth at a base hit to center field his first time up. Matt Harvey working his 3rd inning. He's given up 2 walks but no hits so far after coming on for his first career relief outing behind Syndergaard. And he misses away with a fastball 3-2. Daniel Murphy on deck, then Anthony Rendon for the Nats in the 4th. And Worth reaching for the slider and fouls it off. Again, the 3-2. Tap to short. And Rosario with a low throw dug out by Smith.
Well, Smith is very adept at Wilson picking it over there in the dirt. Those balls in the dirt. He's got good hands. Rosario likes to kind of just lollipop sometime. That's an easy pick right there. I think Dom would tell you that. The short hop. Ball hasn't got a chance to get a bat hop right there. Beautiful how he worked up. He's very smooth too. That's what I like.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now here's Murph, who saw 1 pitch from Syndergaard and hit a hard hit ball to Reyes to start a double play to end the first inning. And he takes a fastball strike from Harvey. Murphy has 2 home runs and 9 career at bats against Harvey. Murph's had some nagging injuries the second half of the year. Just hasn't been quite as locked in as he was all of last year and the first half of this year.
Well, he's swinging the bat good. He hit that double play ball in the first inning off Syndergaard. That was a bullet. Daniel, of his 48 walks this year, 14 have been intentional.
That's pulled over the bank. That's a fair ball going down the line, and that'll go all the way into the corner. Aoki chasing it down. Murphy looking over his shoulder as he moves into second base with a 1-out double. His 42nd double of the year. Started the night 2nd in the National League in 2 base hits.
Nothing wrong with that swing. You just can't pitch him down. He loves that ball downstairs. Like most left-hand hitters, just not even close, but nice effort by Dom.
That ties Nolan Arenado for the league lead in doubles with 42. And now Anthony Rendon is right behind them with 40 doubles of his own. Rendon grounded out his first time up. That's the first hit against Harvey, and the second for the Nats tonight. And Rendon takes a slider for a strike.
It is going to be a very, very competitive postseason. First time I've been looking forward to it. I think the teams they're quality teams, and it's going to be a dogfight, both leagues.
Well, the Dodgers are almost certain to have the best record in the National League, which means they'll play the wild card survivor, Arizona or whoever else.
And Arizona has their number. And they have, who's the pitcher that has their number, the Dodgers number? The left-hander that
Robbie Ray.
Yes.
Well, he's been striking out the world this year. Nationals made it to the division series in 3 of the last 5 years. That horrible loss in the 9th inning of Game 5 in 2012 kind of set the tone for the whole thing. They got beaten that 18-inning game in 2014 that put the Giants up 2-0 and led to their demise. And then last year they got to a decisive 5th game and lost as well to the Dodgers. Rendon gets jammed and fouls one down the right side. Now to play.
Kind of inside out of that one just to stay in the at bat.
American League, it's still undecided who's going to have the best record. Houston won today, so they're only
that's a
game and a half behind Cleveland for the best record.
And Houston had that little downspin where they faded a little bit and allowed Cleveland, when they got hot, to overtake them, but it's close again.
Let me ask you this, though. That's lined the other way. Aoki playing toward the line, gets over there to make the catch. I'm not sure why he was so close to the line, but he was perfectly stationed to run down that liner from Rendon.
I don't understand that either. And everybody down there who was getting those charts and that positioning is patting themselves on the back. But to me, that's just too extreme.
Worked out perfectly for Harvey and Aoki to retire Rendon. I was going to ask you this. So if you're if you've got the best record in the American League, then you're going to play the wild card winner, which has every chance to be the Yankees,
right,
who are so hot right now.
Right.
Would you rather play the Yankees or would you rather play the Red Sox? Because the team with the second best record in the American League gets the Red Sox.
It doesn't matter. You're going to play where you're going to play, and at least with the wild card, you're guaranteed home field.
I think right now I'd rather face the Red Sox than face the Yankees.
It's just unpredictable. You don't know how it's going to play out.
For a ball in the dirt, stopped by Plawecki, 1-1.
A lot of young players, first time in postseason.
That's a good point.
Aaron Judge, that's what interests me. You've got the Bellinger for Los Angeles. I find that of interest. Everybody in Minnesota, it's going to be a first time.
Well, and then you've got these Nationals who are all veterans. I mean, they've basically all been to the postseason before. But for all the guys who have been with the Nats without success. And so how much will it be weighing on them to get over that hump and get through that initial series? 1-2 coming, and Lynn takes it high, 2-2. Taylor would be next. Murphy at second with 2 out. 2-2 to Lynn. And he lifts one to left. Pretty well hit. That goes Nimmo to the track at the wall. It's out of here. Adam Lynn goes opposite field over the Great Wall of Flushing. His second home run of the series, a 2-run shot. And it cuts the Mets lead to 3-2.
Well,
14th home run of the year for Lynn. 6 of the 14 have come against the Mets.
well, this is an impressive one. Not too many made it over the wall of Flushing more than a few years ago. Just fastball belt high. He had to reach for it. I tell you, I don't know what to tell you there.
Well, those are the home runs, the opposite field home runs, going much farther than opposite field home runs have ever gone before. That let you know that there's something going on with the baseball. I mean, well hit by Lynn, give him all the credit, but come on.
So I stand corrected here. You can see it's a changeup. And you got to keep that changeup down. You got it away, but up. And the ball is, they should send these things to NASA. Those rockets, they're sending up to Jupiter and check out the details of the baseball.
Well, that home run by Lind is the 204th for the Nationals, which sets a new franchise record. Breaks the record that the Nationals set last year. The Mets are one shy of the franchise record that they set last year. Baseball has already set an overall home run record this year, and they're going to obliterate it by the time the year is over. So you do the math. Grounded foul. Still 1-2 to Taylor. And I understand about hitters tailoring their swings and launch angle and trying to hit more home runs. But when you see a guy, even a power hitter like Lynn, go the other way and hit it almost 400 feet, there's something going on.
Well, it's the little guys too that are doing it. I love that term, launch angle. And they're all geniuses.
Taylor rockets one up the middle for a base hit. Third hit of the inning against Harvey. And that puts the tying run aboard with 2 down.
Matt's getting the ball up a little bit this inning.
Now Andrew Stevenson, who walked his first time up. Got to watch out for Taylor here, and Harvey will. Throw into the runner, and Taylor just got back. Fastball for a strike to Stevenson. Matt didn't give up a hit in his first 2 innings of work, but a double by Murphy, a 2-run homer by Lind, a single by Taylor. All here in the 4th. And Stevenson hits a ground ball right at Reyes. And that ends the inning, but not before the Nats get closer on Lynn's opposite field 2-run homer. Adam Lynn with his 14th of the year. Hits it the other way over the Great Wall of Flushing. 3-2 New York as we go to the bottom of the 4th at Citi Field. Bottom of the fourth, Mets with a 3-2 lead. Matt Harvey will lead off against Steven Strasburg. That is Greg Cole. Greg is here with his family from Mississippi. Greg's brother Brian was a tremendous prospect in the Mets farm system. Maybe as good an outfield prospect as the Mets had since Darryl Strawberry. But Brian, who was in spring training with the Mets in 2001 and was on his way to becoming a big league star, passed away in a car accident on his way home from spring training. He died at the age of 22. And if you were a Met fan at the time, then you know the incredible heartache that the Mets organization suffered when Brian Cole passed away. And the fact that he never got to play in the big leagues doesn't obviate the fact that he was a very, very special player and a very special person for the Mets organization. And his family is paying tribute to Brian this week, and the Mets are doing so as well, because it's the kind of player whose memory should not be forgotten, even though he never played at the big league level. And Brian's brother Greg is standing by with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Yeah, Gary, thanks so much. And you know, Greg, it's 16 years since the tragedy involving your brother, but I know the connection with the Mets is still strong to this day, and I want to talk about that in a second. But first, this night, it's very special and it's meaningful to be here for you and your family. Why is that?
Well, actually, this Thursday will be Brian's 39th birthday. Would have been his 39th birthday. And what's special about this weekend is my mom has never been to Citi Field. She was at Shea Stadium a couple of times, but never at Citi Field. So actually bringing her up on this weekend, which will be his birthday week, means a lot to our family.
And you had said that when he was originally signed, one of the things that he had been promised is he would play at the new stadium, correct? And so that's part of the reason why it's important for your mother to be here?
That's exactly right. They had promised when they signed him that, you know, Brian, in 2 or 3 years, when you get to the major leagues, you'll be playing in a new ballpark. So that's a really special moment about being in this new ballpark.
Greg, like I said, it's been now 16 seasons, but when we were talking off camera, you talked about how much the Mets have done for your family still and have meant to your family. What has this organization meant in the years since the unfortunate passing?
The Mets have continued to keep in touch with us, continually doing things for Brian and Brian's memory. Things like coming up on this weekend. The Mets were very instrumental in having a Brian Cole scholarship fund established in his high school. Fund's been going on for like the last 9 years and continue to go even now. So there's a male and female athlete that gets scholarship money in Brian's name every year, and the Mets got that fund started.
It's an absolutely tremendous catch during that answer, by the way, by Trey Turner, a circus catch. So 2 away here as Jose Reyes comes to the plate. And Jose Reyes, David Wright, Brian Cole, those 3 names were so big. They were supposed to be the cornerstones of this franchise. So I wonder, I know it's sensitive, but what are the emotions when you watch a Jose Reyes play? Is it difficult at times to watch Mets baseball?
It is. It's a good feeling, but it's also, as you said, sensitive. Because knowing he would have been right there with these guys, and also just knowing, you know, that Mom and Dad never got the opportunity to come up and see Brian play at Citi Field for the Mets. So we see a guy who makes his first call up, and your parents are in the stands. You know, that's very emotional for us because they never had the opportunity to do that.
Well, Jason Worth makes the final play there, and that's a little bit of synergy as well, because I know he played in the Arizona Fall League with your brother too. So, Greg, we appreciate you sharing these memories, and we appreciate you being out here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Mets baseball coming back.
Fifth inning, Matt Wieters leads off against Matt Harvey. Wieters flied out his first time up, 3-2 New York. You know, I was looking at Brian Cole's stats from his last minor league season while Steve was doing that interview with Brian's brother. His last year split between single A and double A. He had 301, 19 home runs, 69 stolen bases. And Brian was not a big guy. He's 5'9", 170 pounds, but he was powerful. That's powerful by Wieters toward right center, and that's going to tie the game. Out toward where we were sitting last night in the City Pavilion. Wieters with his 10th home run of the year, and that gets the Nats even 3-3.
Well, the Nats giving the Mets a little bit of their own medicine here. The long ball getting him right back in this ball game.
2-run homer by Lind in the fourth, and now a no-doubter from Wieters to get the Nats even.
Fastball. Boom, right down the pipe.
Last night you might have caught that ball, Keith.
Well, no. We were right above it.
Yes. And your arms are long. Slider by Harvey to strike out Strasburg. His first strikeout of the night.
Just a fastball down and right down the middle in the wheelhouse. Mistake.
So now Trey Turner up for the third time. He's lined out to right and hit into a fielder's choice. And a call strike 1-1. You know, you just think about how history changes in a moment, right? Brian Cole lives. He's a big part of that Mets team in the early part of the 2000s. Yeah. Maybe the Mets never signed Carlos Beltran. Right?
That's a point.
I mean, it's just everything that happens has such ripple effects on everything else around.
Yes. Maybe Andy Chavez is not out there making that unbelievable catch.
That's a good point. Turner skies one to center. Lagares barely has to move. And they're 2 out. Well, the Mets' upcoming schedule, and there's not much of it left. Go to pix11.com/team travel for great deals on Mets away games from cheapoair.com.
It's over, folks, just about.
Well, not really, Keith, because you know we have a game tomorrow and then 2 on Monday.
And I'm glad it's not a day night. I'm glad it's an old-fashioned, well,
straight doubleheader. I mean,
straight.
It's 4 and 7. It could be 4 and 6:30. It could be 4 and 9. First game ends 25 minutes later. Second game begins. Single admission doubleheader. Old-fashioned twilighter, which is short for twilight night.
Right.
You know, younger fans don't know what a twilight doubleheader is.
No, they don't.
But it used to be that those doubleheaders would start 5:30.
5:30. Yeah, you're right. 5 or 5:30. First game was always a tough game to play because of the sun setting, and there always would be shadows on the field that would creep up between the pitcher and home plate, and it was a devil of a time.
And generally the first game of the twilighter, because usually it's rescheduled. Usually that first game the crowd's small.
Yes.
Got the shadows working. So it's a different kind of an atmosphere. Strike 3 called. Worth is out on strikes. Harvey has his second strikeout of the inning, but the Nats get even on the leadoff home run by Matt Wieters. 10th of the year for the Nationals catcher. Second home run tonight against Harvey. Halfway through at Citi Field, we're tied 3-3. Brought to you by Northwell Health. Look north. It was nice to see Michael Conforto in the ballpark today for the first time since his shoulder surgery. Michael said that he expects to be back to full strength. The doctors have assured him of that as he comes back from unusual surgery on the posterior capsule in his shoulder, but that he can't be sure of a timetable, and it's kind of what we've been saying all along, that the Mets can't count on Conforto being ready opening day next year. And Michael sort of confirmed that in his conversation today. But the piece about whether he will be back to full strength or not, he is fully confident that that will happen.
Well, one thing's for sure for certain is that Michael will do all the work necessary to get himself back on the field playing.
Matt Harvey might be done after 80 pitches and 4 relief innings. As dribble Carrera punches one towards short. Turner backhanding and the jump throw in time to get him 1 out. Not sure why he felt compelled to do that, but it worked.
Too many videotapes of Derek Jeter. Unnecessary is correct.
Speaking of Derek Jeter, did you see the story that came out of Miami today about the fact that Jeter and his ownership group, which is not yet taken over, has quietly requested that Tony Perez, Jeff Conine, and Andre Dawson, all of whom have been working for the organization for years, be released from their duties before the new ownership group takes over?
It's going to be a Yankee ownership. It's going to have a whole new feel. I think they're going to flush it all out, and they're going to have, it's a new beginning.
But you're talking about 2 Hall of Famers. I understand. Plus Conine, who is known as Mr. Marlin.
I understand that, and I find it a little shocking is too strong a word.
No, it's, you would have thought that maybe they could have handled it better.
It's like those New Yorkers, you know, they're tough. Well, business tough.
Yeah. I mean, I understand you want to bring in your own people with new ownership, but maybe you could find a place for those guys who have been really loyal to that organization for a long time, even if it's in an ambassador role,
right? Something like
that. Strasburg's allowed 7 hits tonight, the most he's allowed in any game since July the 8th. But his team has gotten him back even. Nimmo had an opposite field double to drive in the first Met run tonight. pitching slowly. Strasburg off the mound, slaps the tag on Nimmo for the second out.
So Strasburg, excuse me, Nimmo, who hurt him with the double to the opposite field on a fastball. He did him all breaking balls there to get him out.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by NYU Langone Orthopedics. Kevin Plawecki with the 17-hop single up the middle that drove in 2 runs in the third. Mets have gotten a lot of production out of their catchers coming down the stretch of the season. Ever since Plawecki came back from the minors, it seems to have lit an offensive spark beneath Travis d'Arnaud as well. And both of them have been weighing in offensively. d'Arnaud had the big night last night. If the Mets don't make a change at catcher, and it does not appear that they're inclined to, do you think one or the other of these two needs to be the primary guy, or can you split a catcher's role and be effective that way?
It's going to be very difficult for the manager. That's one of the toughest things for a manager to do. I think the toughest job is to keep your bench players or your part-time, your platoon players active enough in enough games to keep them sharp. It's very difficult. I don't have an answer for that, Gary. Is Plawecki long enough in his career where he can have that role? Is d'Arnaud? I mean, those roles are usually for veterans, and it's tough on young players. Now d'Arnaud has far more playing time than Plawecki. I don't know. It has to play out.
Well, I mean, Terry Collins seemed to imply that right now, at least, that the sharing of the role has helped them both be better rested, kept them away from injuries, and allowed them to be more productive. I don't know if that plays out over a full season, though.
But I'll say this: what has Terry always said? And I'm not being negative here, just making a point. Don't put too much stock in spring training. Don't put too much stock in September. When Plawecki's called up hot, you want him to play, carry that AAA where he was successful, get it out here where he can build his confidence. But when April comes, it starts from zero. And when if you're off to trust me, I got off to bad starts 3 times when I was very young. You don't want to look up on that board and see 179, 135, 185. It's when you're young, it's crushing. So we'll see.
Foul back this way.
Oh, above us. How about that? That's a rarity. Al?
It's as close as they get to us. Here we are, tucked back in our little bunker. See that overhang above us? It hit right off that concrete.
Yes, it did. That's my hand, folks. Hi.
The phantom hand, like Cousin It. That's lined to the left field. Over comes Worth to get it. Side retired. Thing. What's your first name? Thing. What's your middle name? T. Thing. T. Thing.
You rang?
Scoreboard can play back outstanding fielding and batting plays immediately, but everyone agreed that no one would want a playback of Casey leading Guy Lombardo's orchestra. This was one of the few sour notes heard all day. Historians were quick to note that on opening day, the last place Mets drew 50,000 fans, while the New York Yankees, perennial winners, drew only 12,000 on their opener the day before.
And thus the competition began.
12,000 people.
And by the way, that scoreboard never worked in terms of playing replays.
What was the square above it? What was that?
That was supposed to be the video board, but it never really.
It never worked.
No.
I love the how do you pronounce that? Longines.
Longines.
I love those clocks.
But it was a great scoreboard, wasn't it? With the lineups and the out-of-town scoreboard, it was the perfect scoreboard for the era, and it was enormous. Didn't list on base percentage though. Josh Smoker on to pitch in the 6th inning for New York. Daniel Murphy takes it wide for ball 1. Murphy to double and scored a run in the 4th inning. Adam Lind a 2-run homer. Matt Wieters a solo shot, getting the Nats back even after the Mets took an early 3-0 lead against Strasburg. Smoker faced one batter last night. That was in the 9th inning. He came in to get Lind to fly out.
Big out.
Right before Familia came on for the save. And Murphy pops it up, lunging for the slider. Rosario retreats. 1 away. Now Rendon, who's 0 for 2. He's grounded out and lined out to right. So Matt Harvey went 4 innings in his first career relief outing. Allowed 3 runs, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 2 home runs. After Noah Syndergaard made his return to the mound for the first time in nearly 5 months, threw just 5 pitches in a scoreless first inning. And I would imagine that when Syndergaard gets in tomorrow, they will begin conversation about whether and when he will get a second appearance, probably next weekend in Philadelphia before the season ends. And tied to Rendon 2-0. I mean, it's nice to get back on the mound and all, but 5 pitches, I'm sure he'll want more.
I thought they should have. I know you got Harvey getting warm. They didn't expect 5 pitches and be gone.
No, you figure, 15 pitches, normal inning. But it's just the way it worked out. Got a double play ball from Murph that got him through the inning post haste. Special delivery. Smoker behind on Rendon, 3-0 with Lind on deck, and he walked him. So a 1-out walk to Rendon. And now Lind will bat against the left-hander after smacking an opposite field 2-run homer against Harvey in the 4th inning that got the Nats on the board. And the first pitch slider misses for ball 1. That's 6 in a row out of the strike zone from Smoker, and so Plawecki will run it back out there. Lind hasn't had many at bats against lefties, but he's held his own. He's hitting .296 in 27 at bats. No home runs though. All his home runs have come against right-handers, and it only seems as though most of them have come against the Mets. 14 home runs this year, and Lind has hit 6 of the 14 against Met pitching. That's 43% of his home runs against one team.
Yep.
What is he, Murph? And that's 7 in a row that Smoker's missed with. Right-hand hitting Michael Taylor on deck.
Usually Terry uses Smoker against the lefties only. We'll see what he does after Lind. I think he's got nobody up anyway, so that's kind of interesting that he's sticking with Smoke.
Especially after he pitched last night. And now it's 3-2.
Josh always lifts that throwing arm up after he makes a pitch.
Just saying hi, Keith.
He's a big husky guy.
3-2, 1 out. Rendon at first, not running, and Lynn fouls back the fastball. And Lynn has settled in nicely as a part-time player. At one time, a feared slugger in the American League, had a 35 home run season in Toronto early in his career. Now 34 years old. A lot of veteran players on this team. That's lined into center field for a base hit. So Lynn gets the hit against the left-hander. He's 2 for 2. Rendon pulls it at second. And the Nats have something working here in the 6th.
Lynn has a nice swing. I like what I see.
So first and second and 1 out, and Smoker will stay in to face the right-hand batter Taylor, who had a base hit to center field his last time up against Harvey. Fireworks after the game tonight, right? Rendon at second, Lind at first.
Oh, there is? You know what that means?
What does that mean?
It means I'm going to walk as fast as you to the car to get out of here before the fireworks are over. Beat the crowd because we got to get up early. We got long drives in the morning.
You know, they should get you a golf cart for situations like that.
No, my knee is 95% now.
Well, the Nationals started the night hitting .292 with runners in scoring position as a team. One of the reasons why they lead the National League in runs scored.
And the last place Giants.
Wow. Everything that could possibly go wrong for the Giants has gone wrong this year. Dan Worthen out to talk to Smoker, who walked Rendon on 4 pitches, fell behind Lynn 3-0, and then now fallen behind Taylor 2-0. I'm just saying, you know, we went to Milwaukee, and you remember the treatment that Bob Uecker got there with the golf cart taking him to his car.
Yes, and we got a ride.
I think, well, we did, which was very nice of you to share, but I think you deserve a similar kind of run.
Well,
I mean, you were a lot better player than Bob Uecker.
Well, I think, you know, Bob's a blue collar guy like myself. I think Bob went to Hollywood, Mr. Belvedere. I think he got a little LA'd.
Well, now, you know, you've done Seinfeld. And now The Amazing Life, which is.
But I'm still blue collar. I'd never forget your roots.
I still think that you deserve the ride.
I deserved it when just coming before surgery when I was really in bad shape. But I tell you, it was just a miracle in my knee. I can't tell you.
Foul tip, strike 2.
How happy it saved me. I was going to wind up in a doggone wheelchair and be ornery and grumpy old man because of a 24/7 pain. That's what makes people grumpy. You know, when you're hurting, how can you be in a good mood? How can you?
Well, you can't, and so I'm happy that you had the surgery and you're feeling some relief. Taylor goes down on the high fastball, and Smoker's got a strikeout for the second out.
Not some relief. We'll get off this and I'll get back to the game. I cannot tell you. I have pain-free.
So what's your next move?
Well, my hip.
I mean, you had your surgery on your shoulder.
Right.
You had your surgery on your knee. Your hip is next.
My right hip. It's all the right side. I'm going to have to get a hip replacement, but I'm not doing it for a while. I've got torn labrum in there and lots of arthritis. And that was on a slide at Old Shea when I was a Cardinal, breaking up a double play. I'll never forget it.
Here's Stevenson with 2 out and 2 on. So you truly did sacrifice your body for the team?
Well, I just made a horrible slide. It was a rain delay, and they didn't get the tarp on the field. The field was wet. The tarp came off. We continued play. I was on first base at some point. I slid into second base to break up a double play, and I usually slid with my left leg bent and my right leg forward, and I got in midair, and it was just the opposite. And I remember going, oh, what did I just do? And then it was awkward, and so my bent knee, my right, went right in, torpedoed into the ground, and it was a wet field, and I stopped on a dime, and it pushed my femur. Yeah, there I am. That's what it did. No, I tell you what, that's not true. I didn't leave the game. I did not go on the DL. But it hurt, and I remember getting up going, okay, I'm lucky here.
Smoker strikes out Stevenson with a slider, and boy, is he happy about that. It's like he just closed out the game. A couple of strikeouts to strand 2 batters. I mean, that's one happy man. Smoker gets through the 6th unscathed, still 3-3. And Byron and the rest of the Pix 11 morning news crew with breaking news, traffic, and sports, plus the latest weather to keep you in the know. Mornings from 5 to 9 on the Pix 11 morning news, New York's very own. Well, in deference to the postseason coming up in a week and a half, Stephen Strasburg out after 5 innings and 83 pitches, and Matt Albers in his stead.
Albers went 2/3 of an inning last night, got 2 outs.
He came in when Sean Kelly got hurt in the 8th inning last night. Kelly was experiencing some pain in his hand, some swelling, and they're concerned about him. And he might not have made their postseason roster anyway, but he looks like there might be something significantly wrong with him. So Albers getting ready to pitch here in the 6th. Strasburg went 5, allowed 3 runs, 7 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts. No decision for Strasburg, who was going after his 15th win. Fell behind 3-0, but the Nats rallied for him. Box score brought to you by Infinity. Empower the drive. Kevin Plawecki a 2-run single on the heels of a Brandon Nimmo RBI double in the 3rd. That's how the Mets got their 3 runs. Mets left 5 runners on base in the first 3 innings against Strasburg, but then Strasburg retired the last 7 Mets to face him. So now it's the veteran Albers to face Smith, Rosario, and Lagares in the bottom of the 6th.
Albers looks like a miniature Rick Russell. I'd like to see Dom keep that right shoulder tucked. Drive into that pitcher. Don't be worried about getting jammed. Go up the middle. Use both gaps. That's his strength.
Well, the Nats, as they have been the last couple of series against Smith, are playing the full shift against him. 3 infielders on the right side. The triangle with Murphy playing out in the outfield. Dominic lined one over the shift into right center his first time up, and he takes this one the other way. Worth coming on toward the line, sliding, and he makes the catch. Jason Worth with a nice play to retire Smith, 1 down.
Nice play by Worth. He's always been a quality outfielder.
Had lost a couple of steps at age 38, but he knew how to make the finish. So 1 away now. Ahmed Rosario, who had an infield hit his last time up, 1 for 2 on the night. And he takes a slider for a strike. Albers with a neat pickup, and he gets Rosario. Body was going one way, his glove was going the other way, got a leg coming out in front, and somehow Albers was able to pick that.
Well, it's on his glove side. Looks like he kind of lost his footing after the catch there, a little stumble.
Let's just say he was all over the place.
He righted the ship.
It's a big ship to right. Here's Juan Lagares with 2 out. Juan has struck out and hit a comebacker, 0 for 2 against Strasburg. Well, the Rockies are underway in San Diego. No score in the second. Colorado trying to hang on to that second wild card. That's ripped into left field. Worth comes on and snags it to retire the side. A bullet off the bat of Lagares, but he's retired, and so are the Mets in the 6th. 7-pitch inning for Albers with a couple of neat plays by Worth along the way. How many hard hit outs for Lagares?
I was just going to took the words out of my mouth.
Lock you in for all the big games, including opening day and the Subway Series. Plus, you get the opportunity to select your 2018 seating location this November during the online select a seat. Place your deposit today at Mets.com/deposits. 7th inning, 3-3 game. And Chasen Bradford will be the 4th Met pitcher of the night.
Got the win last night. What do you throw, 9 pitches, Gary? So he had one. He was the first reliever in for Gazelman, and he got the old Willie.
Matt Wieters tied this game with a home run against Matt Harvey in the 5th, and he hits this one out to left center, cutting across Nimmo, and he gets there. 1 pitch, 1 out for Bradford. So Wieters retired. Now Wilmer Defoe will be the pinch hitter. Batting for the pitcher. Defoe started last night, played shortstop, went 1 for 4 and a walk. Well, the highlight for the Mets so far tonight came in the first 5 pitches of the game. The return to action of Noah Syndergaard. He threw a first pitch slider at 95 miles an hour to Trey Turner, and then he threw 4 fastballs all at 98 or 99. Got a line drive out, a hard hit single, and a hard hit double play ball. 5 pitches and he was done.
And folks, if you were at the game playing a video game, you probably could have missed it. It happened so quickly.
Or, you know, some people might be inclined to tune in at 7:15 rather than 7:10.
That's right.
If you tuned in at 7:15, you missed it.
That's right. It was over and done with. The double play made it happen.
Matt Harvey came in after that, went 4 innings in relief. First time in his professional career Matt had pitched in relief. Got stung for a couple of home runs, 3 runs and 4 hits. Josh Smoker pitched a scoreless 6th. He was very happy when he came off the mound after a couple of strikeouts. And now Bradford pitching for the 2nd straight night. Defoe with a swing and a miss, 2-2.
Took a little off that fastball, got a lot of sinking action.
Jerry Blevins up in the Mets bullpen with an eye toward Daniel Murphy, who is 3 batters away. Always got to be cognizant of where Murph is in that batting order. And Defoe pulls one over the bank past Smith down the line off the sidewall. Defoe takes a turn and Aoki comes up with it quickly. So Defoe has to stop at first. Good play by Aoki to get there to play the carom and keep Defoe from stretching that to a double.
Well, a little fortuitous right over the bag. Good call. Oh, look at the ump. Chris Siegel. Outstanding. And with Defoe's speed, this carom very fortuitous for the Mets.
So he's the go-ahead run at first with 1 out. Trey Turner the batter. And he gets jammed and flies 1 out to left. And Nimmo in to get it. And there are 2 out. So Turner now 0 for 4. He's been very aggressive tonight.
I like him. What's not to like? Look at his numbers.
I mean, he missed, what, 2 months with a broken wrist?
With 42 stolen bases. Yeah. With 2 months on the shelf.
He's only played 90 games. Talking about
71 runs and missed 2 months.
Well, Worth missed 3 months. He's still trying to get himself cranked up. Got a base hit back in the 1st against Syndergaard. Since then, he's grounded out and struck out. So Worth is 5 for his last 52. 15th year in the big leagues for Jason Worth, and his 7th with the Nationals. Final year of that 7-year contract he signed when he left the Phillies.
Gosh, it's that long ago. Everybody went, what? Everybody said, what are they doing? Giving Worth a 7-year deal. He'll be 38 when it runs out.
Well, the other thing that they said, and I think we said it, is in Philly, he was really a complimentary player. He wasn't the star. I mean, you had Howard and Rollins and Utley, who had higher profiles than he did, but Worth got a 9-figure contract. And I think you'd have to say that he's lived up to it.
I think so.
I mean, he's been hurt a lot the last couple of years. But he's been a great energy guy for this team right from the start when he arrived in 2011. Defoe at first, 9 steals in 10 tries. He stays put. Worth fouls the sinker right into the ground, and it's 1-2. Imagine Worth would be wary about fouling one off his foot. Remember, he was out for 3 months with a broken toe. As that shin guard extended all the way over the front of that left foot.
I think I'd wear that if I had a broken toe.
Shin guard to cover your foot. The extension on the helmet to cover your jaw. Defoe wearing the over mitt to cover his left hand. They didn't have these things when you play. 2-2. Fouled away. All designed to do one thing: keep the players on the field. And yet players miss more time now than they ever have.
Yep.
Two coming, and Worth tried to hold back and did on the slider. 3-2.
Cabrera on that line, 7th inning. Terry has usually been a guy that hasn't been a believer in guarding the line.
I think so. With Bradford, who doesn't throw hard, he figures Worth's going to be pulling the ball. Defoe runs. Worth pops it up. Easy for Dominic Smith near the bag. That retires the side. Good inning for Chase and Bradford for the 2nd straight night. 7th inning stretch time. Mets and Nats tied at 3. By your Tri-Honda dealer. So in the National League wild card race, the Brewers have won. The Cardinals are trying to come back. They were down 10-2 in that game against the Pirates. And the Rockies, who have the lead for the second wild card by a game and a half now over both the Cardinals and the Brewers. No score in the second. Brandon Kinsler, the former Minnesota closer, now on for the Nats.
Well, one of the big pieces that the Nationals had to do, it was so apparent in the first half of the season, all the games that the Nationals had lost were leads relinquished. And boy, they made all the right moves. He's one of them. Kinsler, Madsen.
And from the Twins' perspective, remember where they were at. They traded for Jaime Garcia in mid-July. He made one start for them, and then it looked at the trading deadline like the Twins were out of it. So they traded Garcia to the Yankees. They traded Kinsler to the Nats, and lo and behold, looks like the Twins are going to be in the postseason after all.
And they're closing with Mark Belisle.
Matt Belisle, yeah.
Matt, excuse me.
Phil Evans will be the pinch hitter for New York, leading off in the bottom of the seventh. And he takes a fastball from Kinsler for a strike. Well, the Nats before the All-Star break let so many games get away, but only one blown save for that Nats bullpen since the All-Star break, since they made the moves. They got Kinsler, they got Doolittle, they got Madsen, and everything has fallen into place. Evans off to a fine start, hitting a .318. And takes the fastball high. 1-2. Nori Aoki on deck, and then Jose Reyes against Kinsler in the seventh. Matt Albers worked one inning in relief. Got the side out 1-2-3 in somewhat adventurous fashion. And Evans strokes one foul. Twins won their game tonight. They beat the Tigers 10-2 behind Irvin Santana. 16 wins for Irvin Santana. So that stretches their lead to 4 games now for that second American League wild card.
I liked him when he pitched for the Braves that year not too long ago.
Evans bounces one foul. One-two coming, and Evans takes outside. 2-2. Phil has played some third base for the Mets. He's played some second base. First signed as a shortstop. And he lines this one to the right center for a base hit. A really good at bat for Phil Evans, and we've seen plenty of those. He's only had 23 at bats, but it's been impressive.
Fastball belt high, goes right with it, out over the plate. A little fire hydrant, isn't he?
Don Nottingham.
Little toe tapper. Well done. Good at bat.
So the Mets get the leadoff man on in the seventh. After 10 Mets in a row had been retired, now Nori Aoki, who's 2 for 3, and the only time he was retired was on a circus play made by Trey Turner, a line drive that went off the tip of Turner's glove that somehow he was able to locate and catch. Otherwise Aoki would be 3 for 3. Facing his former Milwaukee teammate Kinsler, and takes a fastball for a strike.
You know, we were talking about the Angels and their fold, but you know what? They've had to play Cleveland and now Houston.
Well, schedules matter.
Oh boy, they got the raw end of the stick there. Is there such a thing?
I would say the short end of the stick or the raw end of the deal. So it's a bit of a mixed metaphor, but we all understand what you meant.
I just wanted to be careful, that's all.
Oh, I see where you're going, and I'm not going there with you. Jose Reyes waiting on deck. Lead me down the path of no return, kid. Been into Aoki, 1-2.
Giving Aoki that right field line out there. Stevenson way off into the gap in right center field. If he gets something, you throw something off speed, you're crazy. Give him a chance to pull it.
Well, Norrie's had a hit to left tonight, a hit to center. So he's due for a hit to right. Instead to center, Taylor easing back. And that's the first out of the inning, and Evans back to first. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Honda. Great deals are waiting at your Honda dealers. 1 out and 1 on. Now Reyes, who's 1 for 3, a double down the right field line in the first. Jose hitting .345 over his last 27 games. Been a terrific finish to the year for Reyes. Evans at first and 1 out. And Reyes pops one up. Easy for Rendon in foul ground. 2 out. Second time Reyes has fouled out to Rendon tonight. So now is Dribble Cabrera, who's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight, after getting on base 4 times last night. The Nats 3 runs 7 hits. The Mets 3 runs 8 hits. Mets had a 3-0 lead. The Nats came back to tie on home runs by Lind and Wieters. Last night the Mets fell 5 runs down and rallied to win. It was the 4th time this year that the Mets had rallied from 5 runs or more down to win, which ties the franchise record for most comebacks from that distance in a season. Also did it in 2015. Makes sense, right? With all the home runs that are being hit now, that there'd be more multiple run comebacks.
Yes. The home run is very wonderful to bring you back from a deficit.
It's like the 3-point shot, the 2-point conversion. That's pulled to the right side. Murphy playing on the outfield grass, perfectly positioned to throw out Cabrera, and that retires the side. A leadoff hit, but nothing more. We go to the 8th, still tied at 3. Brought to you by Honda. Great deals are waiting at your Honda dealers. Adam Lind and Matt Wieters with home runs for the 3 Nationals runs tonight. We're 3-3 as we go to the 8th. And with Daniel Murphy and Adam Lind both due up in the 8th inning. Hello, Jerry.
Ruined our day.
That was one magic loogie. Murphy against Blevins. Daniel is 2 for 17 against Jerry Blevins in his big league career. And goes after the first pitch curveball and comes up empty, 0-1. Blevins came in to retire Murphy last night on a fly ball to right field. The only batter Jerry faced in last night's game. And that curveball bounces away. Murph tonight is 1 for 3, doubled in the 4th inning and scored the first Nationals run. Blevins, the former National, against Murphy, the former Met. And the curveball fouled away, and it's 1-2. Nothing but curves so far from Blevins. Anthony Rendon on deck, then Adam Lind for the Nats in the 8th. Jason Bradford worked another effective inning in relief tonight. Second straight night for Bradford. Now Blevins up in the count, 1-2. And the curveball lifted to right. In comes Aoki to call. And Murphy retired on a fly ball to right by Blevins, just as he did last night.
Well, here's the pitch sequence to Murph. Curveball stayed inside, and Murph swung it. It wasn't a strike. Bad curve down and away. Another curve. It was not a strike. Murph fished, and then that was a strike. Murph looks out in front. So a steady diet of the old Ephus curveball.
Just keep putting down number 2. Here's Rendon, whom Blevins has never faced before. That makes sense, being a situational lefty. Cabrera guarding the line at third against Rendon, who's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. The fastball low and in, 1-1. Here's Lind, who has had a big series already. 3-run homer last night, 2-run homer tonight. That's why Blevins is staying in to face Rendon, so he can face Lind as well. Ooh, it just missed.
I thought it was knee high.
Mets are keeping the right-hander Jamie Callahan busy in the bullpen behind Blevins. Mets have already used 5 pitchers tonight, including a pair of starters, Syndergaard and Harvey. And that's below the knees, and Blevins behind Rendon, 3-1. Dangerous spot here for Jerry. Here's Callahan. And the curveball not even close for ball 4, so Rendon walks for the second time. And that'll bring Lind to the plate with a man on. Well, Lind tonight has walked, hit a 2-run homer and singled to center, but we're not going to see Lind. We're going to see Howie Kendrick to bat for him.
And let's see what Terry's going to be up to here. I see him kind of. There he comes.
Well, you got Kendrick, and then you got Michael Taylor, another right-hand batter. And Terry making sure that Kendrick's been announced into the game before he comes out, and now he'll bring Callahan in to face Kendrick. So Blevins out, Callahan in. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. 3-3 in the 8th. We'll be right back. For Jamie Callahan.
Well, those are his numbers. Hasn't been here very long. His last time out was in Miami 5 days ago.
Pitched a hitless inning that last time out. They'll come in to face Howie Kendrick with a runner aboard and 1 out. Kendrick started last night, played second base, went 2 for 4, a double and an RBI. Callahan, the 6th net pitcher of the night. Rendon, not a fast man at first, but he can sneak a steal every once in a while. And Kendrick, first pitch swinging, 0-1.
Good slider right there from Callahan.
Callahan throws hard. He'll throw sliders and splitters. Slider off the plate, 1-1. Now the right-hand hitter, Michael Taylor, waiting on deck. And he stays with that breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Howie Kendrick, 34 years old. Had a long career with the Angels, then 2 years with the Dodgers. Started this year with the Phillies, and he has been an important acquisition for the Nats. It's a fastball for the first time and fouls it back. We've got a fireworks night crowd. You know what that means. 3-3 game in the 8th and a wave.
They want runs. Met runs.
No. 1-2. Chopper toward the middle. Rosario can't make the play. Rendon around second. He'll go to third. And the Nats have runners at the corners. Rosario got there but didn't catch the ball. And it's going to be scored a base hit for Kendrick.
Really?
But that certainly appeared to be a play that he was ready to make.
He rushed the throw, took his eye off the ball, and just didn't make the catch. He rushed the flip to Jose for the force out. I'm telling you, that's an E6. I'm sorry. I mean, you got the force out, and Rendon play in front of him, goes to third wisely. I'm going to hold that score.
So now the go-ahead run at third with one out. Michael Taylor, the batter, and you've got Taylor at the plate, who is fast and hard to double up. But the Mets will play the infield at double play depth, hoping they can turn two. He's already hit into a double play tonight on a bullet to third base, a 5-4-3 double play, and he singled to center and struck out. And Callahan gets the fastball in at the knees at 96 miles an hour.
Would you have scored that a base hit, Gary?
I would not have scored that a base hit. But then again, the one last night, I would have scored an error, and you guys said it should have been a hit on the one that went under Rosario's glove.
Yes, I stand by that.
I think they were both errors.
Okay, I think this one was an error.
So there you go. Horses for courses, my friend. Just off the plate, 2-1 Taylor. Got left-hand hitter Stevenson on deck. No action in the Mets bullpen. It's on Callahan to try and finish off this inning. And Taylor rockets one foul. Got the splitter that time and got ahead of it. Rendon at third, Kendrick at first with one out. 2-2 coming, and it's up and away to Taylor, full count. Taylor strikes out a lot, once tonight, 125 times in just 370 at bats this year.
Do you run Kendrick here, strikeout hitter? I think you do.
Kendrick was almost leaning the wrong way and righted himself before Callahan threw over.
Because if you do get the strikeout, and Kendrick can get in the pickle, and you got the first and third set up for the try to steal a run.
He's going, and Taylor fouls it back. Man, Kendrick can still run a little bit.
Yes, he can.
Got 12 steals this year at age 34. Now Plawecki stepping out in front of the plate to give signals to the infield.
He's getting signals from the.
But where was that before the previous pitch?
I know, unless they changed. I think they changed what they were going to do with the full count.
Kendrick was going on the first 3-2 pitch. And that's called from the bench for Callahan to throw over. Not going, and Taylor strikes out for the second out. So that time Kendrick stayed put. Callahan went to a 3-2 slider, and he fans Taylor 2 men down.
And a good one. Ball 4. Got him to fish.
So now 2 out, runners still at first and third. And it's left to the rookie Andrew Stevenson, who's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Well, Callahan should be through this inning already if Rosario gets an out on that ground ball that resulted in the hit for Kendrick. Now he's got one more man to get. Stevenson takes a slider low and in, ball 1. Andrew Stevenson, 99 minor league games this year. He had 272. Not a power hitter, just 2 home runs in the minor leagues. Does not have a home run in the big leagues yet. In fact, he only has 1 RBI through his first 55 at bats. And he goes after the splitter, and it's 1-1.
Slider. They're fishing for it. It's not a strike. It's got to have some little down tilt late.
And he tops one up the line. That'll go foul. Stevenson will come back with a 1-2 count. Three-year-old Jamie Callahan trying to fight his way through a tough spot here in the 8th. 1-2 coming. Struck him out. Nice work by Jamie Callahan. Back-to-back strikeouts of Taylor and Stevenson to get through the inning. 3-3 going to the bottom of the 8th.
An impressive 2/3.
Kendrick, who pinch hit, stays in the game at first base, and 37-year-old Ryan Madson will pitch for the Nats.
Well, former Philly, on those Philly great years, seen a lot of him against the Mets. Got him from Oakland, and he's another piece of that bullpen, the back end of that bullpen that needed to be fixed.
Missed about 3 weeks, late August, early September because of injury, but he's fine now. 17 appearances for the Nationals, a 1.06 ERA since being acquired. Brandon Nimmo will lead off in the home 8th inning. Nimmo had an RBI double back in the 3rd when the Mets scored all 3 of their runs against Steven Strasburg. And Madson gets the curveball in for a strike, 0-1. Nimmo, Plawecki, and Smith for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th. And Nimmo goes after the off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2. Well, isn't this interesting? Up in the bullpen for the Mets for a potential save situation in the 9th. Jerry's Familia. Got his first save since May last night, getting 1 out. And Nimmo down on 3 pitches before Madson for the first out in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, he swung at 3 of these right here in the dirt, or 2 of them. Curveball. Couldn't lay off.
So Familia, who struggled the only time he worked back-to-back days since coming back from the blood clot surgery, apparently is going to get the opportunity to work a second straight day. Here's Plawecki. He drove in 2 runs with a 3rd inning single. 1 for 3 on the night.
Rendon not guarding the line nearly as close as Cabrera did earlier. There's the big breaking ball. Matson always had that good off-speed changeup was he threw, and a great curve. Looks a lot bigger. Remember, he was a big, slender guy back in his Philly days.
0-2 coming. Remember that game he pitched for the Phillies at Shea, where he went 7 innings in relief in an extra inning game?
I forgot.
And then Beltran got him in the 16th inning.
Vaguely.
One, 2 coming. And he strikes out Plawecki with a fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts from Madsen to start the bottom of the 8th. So now Dominic Smith robbed of a hit on a sliding play by Worth in left field his last time up. He's 1 for 3 on the night. Again, the full shift on against Dom. He fouls away the fastball. 1-1. Mets have had just 1 base runner since the 3rd inning. It was a pinch hit single by Phil Evans in the 7th. Half pitchers have combined to retire 15 of the last 16 Met batters. And Smith nubs one. If it stays fair, it'll be a base hit, but it goes foul. Just had enough English on it. As he had an early swing at that changeup and hit it right off the end of the bat. Dom's not going to get a ton of infield hits.
No.
But he had a chance for one there. Rosario would be next. Two out and nobody on. 1-2 coming to Smith. And Dom goes down swinging, and Madsen strikes out the side in the bottom of the 8th. That was impressive. We go to the 9th. Mets and Nats tied 3-3. Field. Mets and Nats tied 3-3. And for just the second time since coming back from the disabled list, Jeurys Familia will work a second straight day.
And coming off his first save since coming back. 4 or 5 on the season. But you can wash that all away. He's missed so much time. It was so nice to see him get that first save, and he was expression on his face said it all too. He was thrilled. I'm talking about Jeurys, of course.
Now, the first time he tried to go back-to-back in Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago, it didn't go well. But in this case, he threw only 5 pitches, faced 1 batter last night. So Terry Collins will take a shot with him here in the 9th to face Matt Wieters, then the pitcher's spot, then Trey Turner. Each team with 3 runs and 8 hits. Wieters responsible for tying this game in the 5th inning with a home run against Matt Harvey. Mets have gotten scoreless relief after that from Smoker, Bradford, Blevins, and Callahan for the last 3 innings. And now Wieters against Familia to start the 9th. And he fouls back the first pitch fastball, 0-1. Alejandro De Aza is out on deck to pinch hit for the Nats. So the Mets have used 7 pitchers tonight, starting with Syndergaard, who threw 5 pitches in a scoreless first inning in his first outing in nearly 5 months. Harvey went 4 innings behind him, gave up all 3 Nationals runs. And the sinker misses to Wieters, a ball and a strike. Wieters taps one slowly. Familia makes the underhand toss, 1 out. So now De Aza will pinch it. Started last night, played left field, went 1 for 5 at a triple and scored 2 runs, and then was robbed of a hit on a fine play by Aoki in the 9th inning that helped save the game. Sammy Solis and Sean Doolittle both up in the bullpen. Solis if the game stays tied, and presumably Doolittle if the Nats are able to take a lead. He's been their closer since arriving from Oakland. De Aza, the former Met, takes a fastball for a strike from Familia.
Getting good sink, Jeurys.
Well, these are good signs. Coming back a second straight day and looking sharp. To De Aza. Did he go?
No.
He did not. 1-2. Well, it's a 3-3 game in the 9th, so obviously it's not a save situation, but when you're at home, once you get to the 9th inning of a tie game, there can't be a save situation, so this is as close to the real thing as you can get for Familia one night after earning a save. With that choke up on the bat. Facing a 1-2. And again he stopped.
No.
2-2.
But see how he's taking those pitches? That means that he's rushed and he's really he's violently trying to hold up his swing, which shows that Jeurys is throwing hard.
2-2 coming. Little tapper, that'll go foul. And De Aza down on strikes. Chased the high fastball, 2 men down.
Lots of movement even upstairs. That was ball just ran away from De Aza. He didn't want to swing at it. Oh.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Trey Turner, who's gone 0 for 4 tonight, set the ball in the air 3 times. This is the one guy that you don't want to get on base in a tight game late. Almost automatic with the stolen base. And Familia finds the corner, 1-1.
Boy, he looks good.
Well, it's certainly encouraging when you look forward to next year and him resuming his closer's role.
Yes.
He has a nasty one. Slider, 1-2.
Well, well, well. It didn't take him a little long to find it.
One-two, quick pitch, and it's lined down the left field line, and that's going to go into the corner. And Turner heads for second as Nimmo plays the carom. So Familia tried the quick pitch, and it had negative effect.
Well, he quick pitched here, and the ball stayed up. If you're going to quick pitch, you got to make sure you still have that sinker when you're throwing the fastball. And that ball was up above the belt. You can see that belt high. Pretty impressive at bat by the youngster. 2 strikes on him.
Here's Jason Worth, who's 1 for 4. You know, you see the quick pitch from Familia, and you see Turner hit that ball hard, and you can't help but flash back to Alex Gordon.
Yes.
Game 1 of the World Series, 9th inning.
Yes.
Go ahead run at second with 2 out. Worth is 1 for 4 tonight.
Boy, he's got some movement. Where was that pitch? Jeez.
Marty Foster must have seen it as low.
Come on, Marty.
Turner with outstanding speed. He'll score on any base hit to the outfield. And Worth takes a strike, and it's 1-2. Good numbers for Worth against Familia. But now he's down in the count, 1-2. Struck him out. A very impressive inning for Jeurys Familia. 2 strikeouts, including that last one that tied Jason Worth in a knot. You go to the bottom of the 9th, still tied at 3. Spectrum get the Spectrum triple play today. 4th inning, Nori Aoki, liner to short, and this is what happened.
Well, that's a beautiful catch. It's just great athletic ability. Ball tipped up in the air. Great recovery. Well done.
Tip drill. Every linebacker and defensive back has done it. Sammy Solis will be the 5th Washington pitcher of the night as we go to the bottom of the 9th.
Well, we are hopeful that Sammy will cough it up. Let's go. Give up a run.
Wow, that's as much rooting as I've ever heard you do. Here's Ahmed Rosario leading off. Rosario 1 for 3 tonight. Its last walk-off win came July the 22nd against Oakland when Wilmer Flores hit a walk-off home run. The Mets have not homered tonight. They have 217 this year, which is 1 shy of the club record set last year. Travis d'Arnaud, who hit 2 of them last night, is looming. Big cut by Rosario, 2-1. Rosario 4 home runs in his first 139 big league at bats. '29-year-old Sammy Solis steals 2-1. Another big cut by Rosario, 2-2. Well, that was a very impressive inning by Familia. And it certainly has to give you great hope for next year. The return of Syndergaard tonight certainly was encouraging. Just getting him back out there on the mound. Familia looking sharper and sharper. 2017 may have been a wash, but 2018 looms. Jacob Rame getting ready for a 10th inning if there is one. Seventh pitch of the at bat to Rosario, and he fouls away another fastball. Mets have had 1 base runner since the 3rd inning. 17 of the last 18 Met batters have been retired. The only base runner in that span, a pinch hit single by Phil Evans in the 7th. And Rosario chases the changeup for strike 3. 4 straight strikeouts for the Nats bullpen. Our next picks telecast is next Saturday when the Mets play the Phillies. Coverage begins at 6:30 with Spectrum Picks pregame right here on New York's very own Picks 11. Now here's Lagares, who's 0 for 3, hit a bullet to left that Worth caught his last time up. Fouls back the fastball, 0-1. d'Arnaud out on deck to pinch hit. Coming up next here on Picks 11, it's the Picks 11 News on SNY. It's WB Mason post game live. Your pick. Curveball in for a strike. 0-2 to Lagares. Here's d'Arnaud, who had a couple of bombs last night. One-two to Lagares, and that's away. 2-2. Steven Strasburg went 5 for the Nats tonight. 3 runs, 7 hits. Matt Albers, Brandon Kinsler, Ryan Madsen each with a scoreless inning. Madsen struck out the side in the 8th. And Solis has struck out his first batter here in the 9th. Crowd is amped. They're waiting for their fireworks and hoping for a walk-off to lead to the fireworks. Backdoor curveball for strike 3 called. Agaris didn't think so. But Foster rings him up.
Ball was down.
So back-to-back strikeouts for Solis to start the last of the ninth.
It's down and
it was outside.
It curved around the plate. No, it got a little corner. I thought it was low. So he got the call. The pitcher got the call.
So now Darno, whose last pitching assignment in Miami, hit a pop fly single that fell in to drive in a run. He's 3 for 15 as a pinch hitter this year. Bats here with 2 out and nobody on. And he takes the curveball for ball 1. Travis last night a solo home run to left in the second, a 3-run homer to left center in the 5th. Now has 15 home runs for the year. First Met catcher to hit 15 home runs in a season since John Buck in 2013. They're the only 2 to hit 15 as a Met catcher in the post Piazza era. Late on the fastball, and it's 1-2. And Travis bounces one on the right side. Murphy comes in to get it, and we are going to extra innings. 1-2-3 for Solis in the bottom of the 9th. 3-3 heading for the 10th. New York.
Agreed.
Chrysler Building. Just gorgeous.
Yes.
Art Deco. Can't be beat. Many have tried. Jacob Rhames' 6th big league outing as we go to the 10th inning.
A lot of hits he's given up. It hasn't been easy for him since he came over in the trade
For Curtis Granderson.
from the Dodge. The Artful Dodgers.
They'll get Murphy, Rendon, and Kendrick in the top of the 10th. He's the 8th Met pitcher of the night. Murphy's gone 1 for 4. He doubled and scored a run in the 4th. It was Murph's 42nd double of the year, tying him with Nolan Arenado for the league lead. Speaking of Arenado and the Rockies, the Padres just got a run in the bottom of the 5th. San Diego leads Colorado 1-0 going to the 6th. Felice Chacin has held the Rockies without a hit for the first 5 innings in that game. Colorado trying to hang on to that second wild card. If they lose tonight, that would move Milwaukee just a game behind. Ball gets loose in left field, and Nimmo having trouble getting it in the stands. It wasn't a ball, it was a hat. That's why he couldn't sail it over there at first. She's a little mortified. Delay of game. Slider up and into Murph, 1-1. Rendon on deck. Murphy bounces one foul, slider in on his hands, and it's 1-2. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are now in the 9th, down 11-6 to Pittsburgh. So looks like St. Louis, barring a huge comeback, will not be able to gain ground tonight.
And they'll lose ground on Milwaukee.
Cardinals moved ahead of the Brewers last night. Murph takes the fastball high, 2-2. Here's the wild card up to the moment in the National League with Milwaukee's win this afternoon. Colorado trailing, St. Louis trailing. 2-2, and Murph fouls it away. Two coming. In the air, center field, hit well. Lagares racing back near the wall. It's off the top and out of here. Cleared the orange line. A home run for Murphy to put the Nats ahead in the 10th. Home run number 23 for Daniel Murphy. And the Nats have the lead in the 10th.
Well, you didn't think it was going to silence Daniel Murphy for long when he comes back to play the Mets. This was right down Broadway, hanging slide ball.
And you can see it had plenty of clearance off the apple casing. That apple doesn't rise for Murph anymore, but he doesn't care. 9 home runs now in 37 career games against the Mets. And the Nats' 3rd home run of the night and their 1st lead of the night.
So, well, here it is.
And there it goes. Better slider to Rendon, and it's 1-2. Rendon has walked twice, otherwise 0 for 2. So now Sean Doolittle is up in the Nats bullpen, getting ready for a save chance in the bottom of the 10th. Lind, Wieters, and now Murphy have all homered for all the Washington runs tonight. That's at the top of the batting order coming up in the bottom of the 10th. And the slider skips in, 3-2. Smoker, Bradford, Blevins, Callahan, Familia all held the fort for 4 innings of scoreless relief. But Rame gets touched by the first batter he faces, and now he walks Rendon. 3rd time in a row Rendon has been on with a walk. And that'll get Howie Kendrick to the plate for the 2nd time and get Dan Worth into the phone. Kendrick came up as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning, hit a bouncer up the middle that went off the glove of Rosario, who was trying to make a quick catch and toss to start a double play, but it wound up being scored a hit for Kendrick. And breaking ball in for a strike. Kendrick stayed in to play first base. Kevin McGowan, next man up in the Mets bullpen. In September baseball, we get never run out of relievers. Runner goes, and it's hit to Smith, who makes the play unassisted as Rendon takes second. Don't know if that was designed as a hit and run play, but it has that impact. And Rendon's on second with 1 out.
I believe it was. We'd have to take a look at the runner and see if he peeked back. We'll take a look. Yep, I think I'm not sure. It's a late peek.
Now Michael Taylor fouls one off Plawecki's mask. Taylor 1 for 4 tonight at a base hit back in the 4th. He has struck out each of his last 2 at bats, including in the 8th when he came to bat with 1st and 3rd and 1 out. And Josh Smoker was able to strike him out. Marty Foster making sure Kevin Plawecki is okay after he took one off the mask. The fraternity of masked men.
Yep. They commiserate together.
The Lone Ranger would understand.
What do you mean, me? That was the joke, you know, Lone Ranger and Tonto. Well, it's an old one, an oldie but goodie. All right. What was that? Jay Silverheel?
Silverheel.
Yeah.
Who was that masked man? Never got his name.
I never was a big the TV show. I never was a big fan of the Lone Ranger. I did watch Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
Yep.
More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Who played? Was there ever Luther in this in that series? That TV series never was Luther. It was always more criminals.
It was more, yeah. It was more of a 50s oriented criminal element. Fouled away by Taylor. Jacob Rain trying to make sense of this 10th inning. Ahead on Taylor 0-2 with the left-hand batter Stevenson on deck. And he lays off the slider 1-2.
Good eye right there. It was Lex Luthor. Right?
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor was his arch fiend, arch enemy. He was bald, right? He was a bald like Al.
Changeup misses 2-2. Rendon at second with 1 out. And Taylor takes another one low. So after Rehm got ahead of him 2 strikes, he's run the count full on Taylor. Stevenson waiting. McGowan warming up. Rehm struggling. 24-year-old in his 6th big league appearance. Throws the 3-2. And Taylor flies one down the right field line. Aoki watches it sail out of play. We saw Aoki make a catch on Rendon back in the 4th inning, way over toward the right field line on a line drive, and he's playing toward the line against Taylor as well.
I don't get it. You're leaving a gap wide open. It's
gaps in left center because Lagares is playing up in right center. Doesn't matter because Taylor draws a 10-pitch walk. Second walk of the inning for Rehm. And that's going to be the end of his tenure in this game. After 24 pitches, only got 1 out. And Kevin McGowan will get the call, and the Mets will go to their 9th pitcher of the night. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. We'll be right back to Citi Field. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your tri-state area Jaguar retailers. By Fios. Fios is not cable. We're wired differently. Visit getfios.com. By Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. By Kia. Hurry in during Kia's fall savings time. Visit kiadealers.com to learn more. By cheapoair.com. Go to pix11.com/team travel for great deals on Mets away games. And by your Tri-Honda dealer. Hurry in for great deals on 2017 models. 5th big league appearance for Kevin McGowan.
The 5 walks, not good, but it's a small piece. 4 1/3. Got the big curly hair.
9th pitcher of the night for the Mets comes in to face Andrew Stevenson. 1st and 2nd, 1 out. Stevenson slashes at the first one and fouls it off. Stevenson's gone 0 for 3 and a walk tonight. Struck out his last 2 at bats. 9 pitchers, the most the Mets have used in a game this year. Was it the Angels who used 12 pitchers in a game recently?
Really?
Well, it happens in September. That's nubbed up the line. Smith's going to come to get it and slaps the tag on Stevenson. That's the 2nd out as the runners move to 2nd and 3rd. The record, the Mets club record for pitchers used in a game is 10, whether a 9-inning game or an extra inning game. So they're 1 shy. But we're not done yet.
Twice bitten.
All right. Here's Wieters, who tied this game with a home run in the 5th. Extra innings have not been the Mets' friend this year. They're 2-7 in extra inning games. The Nats are 6-4. Big out to get here from McGowan, trying to keep this a 1-run game. Rendon at 3rd, Taylor at 2nd with 2 out. And Wieters takes one in the dirt. Milwaukee had trouble finding it for a moment, but it's right there at his feet. Does it do any good when the pitcher runs in and says, "There, it's right there, it's
it
right
helps.
there"?
It always helps if the catcher's looking around.
Do you know where right there is, though?
If you point and it's right there, yeah.
As long as it really is right there. One to Wieters. Victor Robles is out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Wieters can keep the inning going. And the slider grounded down to first. Another easy play for Smith. And that retires the side. Good work by McGowan to limit the damage. But Daniel Murphy with the home run off Jacob Rame gives the Nats the 10th inning lead. Murphy's 23rd of the year, and the Nats' third home run of the night. 4-3 Washington going to the bottom of the 10th. For 19 in save opportunities since joining the Nationals.
Well, he's what the doctor ordered. Another one. This is number 3 for the recipe to turn this club into serious contention. They were losing a lot of games, as I said earlier, and they needed a bullpen. Well, they went out and got 3 quality relievers, and this is the big guy right here. There's Stopper, left-hander from Oakland.
We've already seen Kinsler and Madsen, the other 2 they acquired before the deadline. Now Doolittle will try and finish the Mets off after Murphy's home run gave the Nats the lead in the top of the 10th. Top of the batting order, Nori Aoki, then Reyes and Cabrera in the bottom of the 10th. 19 of the last 20 Mets hitters have been retired since the 3rd inning. Matt Albers worked a perfect inning. Brandon Kinsler gave up that hit to Evans in the 7th. Ryan Madsen struck out the side in the 8th, and Sammy Solis a perfect 9th with a couple of strikeouts, and now Doolittle trying to finish up. Sean Doolittle, University of Virginia product, now 30 years old, faces Aoki, who's 2 for 4 tonight. Corners in against Nori, and the first pitch fastball in for a strike, and it'll be mostly fastballs from Doolittle. Throws his fastball 88% of the time.
Then he's got a good one.
And Aoki fouls it off, and quickly it's 0-2. One of the most important feature for Doolittle with that fastball is he throws strikes with it. 9 walks in 48 innings this year.
Very defensive swing from Aoki. A tough strikeout. It's just a little hack just to stay in. Not even a hack.
Aoki has seen Doolittle before and done well against him. 3 hits and 5 career at bats. And battling him here down in the count 0-2. So Doolittle is the 15th pitcher in this game. Mets have used 9. The Nats have now used 6. Aoki chases the high fastball and fouls it back. Night began with Noah Syndergaard on the mound for the first time since April. And it has been a parade ever since. 1-2 coming. And Aoki slaps one to short. Turner comes in to get it. And again, the jump throw. It's the second time he's done that tonight. Don't recommend doing it that way, do you?
Here, well, he's got it down pat. It's not a tough. I agree.
But why?
I know. You got me here. But he's obviously comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
One out. Here's Reyes, who's 1 for 4. Double down the right field line back in the first. And Jose fouls one back. Right short out.
Al, they get you.
And it's just underneath Al, who had his camera hand ready. Reyes gets jammed, lays off 1-1. Cabrera on deck. We'll get a chance to bat right-handed, which has been his favorite side this year. And now Doolittle up in the count 1-2, and as generally is the case, throwing nothing but fastballs. One-two coming, and Reyes pops one up. Might stay in play. Wieters coming back to the screen, but it's out of play. Well, the Rockies finally got a hit, but they're down 2-0 in San Diego as they play in the bottom of the 6th. One-two coming, and a foul tip. Strike 3. Got him with a changeup for the second out.
Well, after all the fastballs, he was certainly set up for that one. I was waiting for Doolittle to throw something besides the fastball. Reyes has got a good pop from the right side of the plate. Completely fooled him. Good location.
And so the Mets are down to their final out of the night as Cabrera steps in. Asdrubal 0 for 3 and a walk tonight, hitting .388 from the right side of the plate. That's the second highest batting average in the National League against left-handed pitchers. 1 for 3 in his career against Doolittle. Last night the Mets came from 5 runs down to beat the Nats. Tonight the Nats were down 3 runs early, but they've hit 3 home runs and now 1 out away from evening the series. Tomorrow, DeGrom and Scherzer, marquee matchup for the final game of this series.
The slider. See what .389 will do when you bat from that side of the plate.
One to Cabrera. He sells that one up and away. A changeup, 2-1.
Bit surprised that Stevenson out in right field is playing shallow. 1-run lead.
Travis Tyrone on deck to bat for Nimmo if Cabrera can keep it going. And that's outside. Now it's 3-1.
See the right of your screen, upper right. That's kind of shallow. I'll be playing a little bit deeper the 1-run game.
See if Cabrera gets somebody to hit on 3-1. 2 out and nobody on. Mets down to their last out. Man, Cabrera takes a big hack, and it's 3-2.
I'll tell you what, Doolittle's fearless.
Tyrone would bat for Nimmo to give the Mets a right-handed bat against Doolittle. Doolittle's given up 4 home runs this year, only 1 since joining the Nationals. Mets are down to their final strike. Cabrera pokes one foul, stay alive. Doolittle mixing it up. Seventh pitch of the at bat to Cabrera. And he walked him, and the Mets have life. Tying run is aboard with 2 down.
Terrific at bat by Cabrera.
And now it's Travis Tyrone to pinch hit. Tyrone, who has power, has 1 big league home run. 7 for 40 in his big league career. Matt Reynolds will run for Cabrera at first base, carrying the tying run. So Reynolds pinch running, Tyrone pinch hitting. Mike Maddox going to the mound, the Nationals pitching coach, to talk to Doolittle.
Probably just telling him a little scouting report on what this guy is all about. Tyrone, an unknown entity. Pretty basic here. Keep the ball away. A 2-run home run beats you.
Where the ball's flying out to the opposite field these days.
Still make them. You want to hit a bomb, you got to do it in the opposite field.
So Reynolds carrying the tying run at first with 2 out. And Tyrone takes inside for ball 1. Travis 1 for 7 as a pinch hitter. 135 minor league home runs, 1 in the major leagues. Another would bring the house down. He fouls it back. 1-1. Doolittle's thrown 20 pitches in this 10th inning. And Tyrone tries to hold, but he went around, and the Mets are down to their final strike. One-two from Doolittle. Too high. 2-2. Reynolds at first with 2 out. 2-2 to Tyrone. Struck him out, and the ball game is over. Doolittle gets the save in the bottom of the 10th after Daniel Murphy's home run in the top of the 10th put the Nats on top.
Came inside here, straight fastball in. Tide look at him, broke down his swing, beat him inside. And that is your Wago as Daniel Murphy. Again, he's the whaler with the big harpoon.
Game summary brought to you by Kia's Fall Savings Time. Noah Syndergaard made his return to the mound after nearly 5 months away, threw only 5 pitches to work a scoreless first. Mets used 9 pitchers in all, 1 shy of a club record. It was Jacob Rame who gave up the game winner to Murphy in the 10th. Final game of this series tomorrow afternoon on SNY. Great pitching matchup, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. Our coverage begins at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon on SNY. Our next picks telecast will be next Saturday when the Mets visit the Phillies. Coverage begins at 6:30. Coming up on Pix 11, it's the Pix 11 News. And on SNY, it's WB Mason post-game live. Nats win at 4-3 and 10. For Keith Hernandez, Steve Gelbs, and our entire crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. We'll see you tomorrow on SNY. Right now, it's time for the Pix 11 News.